Chapter 40. One when no one's around, call me uncle. Good lad, you're finally back. Upon seeing Li Yun again, Zhang Kong was overjoyed. He immediately pulled Li Yun to sit down and even poured him a cup of tea. Here, have a taste. I just got some green willow needles. Li Yun was somewhat flattered. He picked up the teacup, took a slight sniff, and sure enough, a delicate fragrance wafted up, making him involuntarily swallow. I took a small sip and found the tea even sweeter. After swallowing, the fragrance lingered in my mouth. It smells so good. Thank you for your hospitality, Elder Zhang. Come on, I heard from Ryuhan that you were quite the troublemaker in that valley. Why are you all so reserved in front of me? Hee, you're an elder. Forget about being an elder, there are no outsiders here. From now on, just call me Uncle Zhang. Zhang Kong said cheerfully. Upon hearing this, a strange expression immediately appeared on Li Yun's face. Good grief, they're trying to take advantage of him. Furthermore, according to the Zhang family's seniority, Zhang Kong would have to call Zhang Ryuhan aunt, and Zhang Ryuhan would have to call Zhang Kong senior sister, and Zhang Kong uncle. Wouldn't that be a mess? What, you look down on me? Am I not worthy of you calling me uncle? Seeing Li Yun hesitate, Zhang Kong's expression hardened. Helpless, Li Yun quickly said, No, Elder Zhang, you misunderstand. I just wonder if this would violate the sect rules. What kind of violation of the sect rules is this? Although I am an outer sect elder, am I not allowed to take in a nephew in my private capacity? It's settled then. From now on, when no one's around, just call me Uncle Zhang. Since things have come to this point, if Li Yun makes another excuse, it would be a direct slap in the face, and there's no need for that. Anyway, Zhang Kong is quite old, at least over 60, so it's not a loss for a 16-year-old like me to call him Uncle Zhang. Let's just consider this a way to promote civility and set a new standard. So Li Yun put down his teacup, stood up, and respectfully addressed Zhang Kong as Uncle Zhang. Zhang Kong immediately beamed with joy. In his view, he had gone a great deal. These past few days, based on the information brought by Zhang Ryuhan, he became even more certain that Li Yun's future was extremely bright. As long as he was well protected, he would not only become an inner disciple, but also be promoted to a true disciple. So far, the Zhang family lineage has no true disciples in the Tianwu sect, nor any close relatives. This undoubtedly affected the development of the Zhang family line within the Tianwu sect. Although Li Yun is not surnamed Zhang and cannot be considered a member of the Zhang family, factions are never based solely on blood ties. Interests are far more important. As long as both sides share the same interests and can see things from the same perspective, that's enough. Of course, it would be even better if we could have a closer relationship. Regarding this point, the Zhang family is already considering it internally. They are already screening from both direct and collateral branches, intending to select a woman who is a good match for Li Yun in terms of appearance, figure, personality, temperament, and even talent to introduce to him. However, there is no suitable candidate yet, and they are afraid of scaring Li Yun, so they dare not reveal their intentions. But before that, it would be good to first adopt Li Yun as a nephew. I know what happened to you in that valley. To be able to comprehend the sorrowful wind sword technique in just 2 days is truly remarkable. I originally agreed that you should continue your seclusion there. For a martial artist, being able to endure loneliness and be devoted to the martial arts is the first step to becoming a strong person. However, we have officially recommended you to the outer sect elders as the chief disciple of the Ren class. You cannot be absent, so we had no choice but to call you back first. Speaking of this, Li Yun's heart also stirred slightly. Uncle Zhang, I heard that some people in the elders' hall are against me becoming the chief of the Ren group. Ryuhan told you, right? What do you think? Aren't you angry? Zhang Kong deliberately asked Li Yun a question in return, wanting to see Li Yun's reaction. Generally speaking, Blocking someone's progress is like killing their parents. Upon hearing such a thing, most people would probably feel extremely angry. Anger? To be honest, no. To Zhang Kong's surprise, Li Yun simply smiled faintly, without showing the slightest anger on his face. This was something Zhang Kong found hard to believe. They suspected that Li Yun was faking it. Although Li Yun is young, only 16 years old this year, there are many people in this world who are born with deep minds and are good at controlling their emotions at a young age, never showing their joy or anger. Once such people mature, they are basically born ruthless and powerful figures. However, Li Yun quickly provided an explanation. First, anger is useless. Since others can oppose my becoming the chief of the Ren class in the Elders' Hall, they must have put forward legitimate reasons, which cannot be changed by anger. Instead of pointless anger that disturbs my mind, I'd rather use my strength to shatter all excuses for opposition. Secondly, I don't actually know who is opposing my becoming the chief of the Ren group and who I should express my anger to. As for myself, Uncle Zhang, do you think that's appropriate? Zhang Kong was speechless for a moment, but he was even more surprised. Li Yun only gave 2 reasons, but that was enough to demonstrate his composure. A disciple who is talented, knows when to be humble, and can keep a calm mind and is also handsome. He no longer knows how to predict Li Yun's future. Perhaps this is the luck of my Zhang family lineage. Luck was on her side. Zhang Ruohan happened to meet Li Yun, and coincidentally, Li Yun and Zhang Chu became acquainted because they were both disciples of the Ren 95 Academy. It's a pity that if Zhang Ruohan hadn't been engaged, they could have. Sigh. Zhang Kong suddenly felt a little regretful. However, he dared not express that many people were dissatisfied with Zhang Ruohan's engagement, but had no choice but to accept it. He stopped thinking about it. After chatting with Li Yun for a while, he told Li Yun to come again the next day. He would take Li Yun directly to the Elders' Hall early the next morning to finalize the title of chief of the Ren division in one go. As for the matter of going to the armory to collect martial arts manuals, Li Yun also inquired about it. Zhang Kong stated that before going to the armory, he needed to finalize the appointment of the chief disciple with the Ren prefix, because obtaining this title would grant him privileges that ordinary disciples did not have. Not only can you choose 2 more martial arts techniques, but the upper limit of the grade of the martial arts techniques you can choose is also higher. Since the goal is to create something interesting, it's only natural to maximize profits. Li Yun naturally would not object. After having tea at Cang Yun residence for a while, he left and went straight back to Ren 95 Academy. He had been working hard for several days, focusing on cultivation and accumulating knowledge points, and hadn't had much rest. Tonight, he decided to wash up and go to bed early to get some rest. Martial arts training shouldn't be like a taut string that breaks easily. It needs to be balanced. Chapter 42. Was there more than one person vying for the top spot? Just as Li Yun left Cang Yun residence, another young man also arrived at the residence of Huang Yis, an outer sect elder, in the chaotic separate dwelling. The boy was handsome with striking features and an extraordinary bearing. He was also a bit arrogant, but he concealed it very well in front of Huang Yis, appearing well-behaved and sensible. The boy's name was Chu Xingyu. He was the chief of the Ren 1 Academy, and also Huang Yis' grandson. Grandpa, why did you call me here so late? Is it to test me, or is there something you need me to do? Huang Yi chuckled. What can you possibly do for me with your current skills? I've brought you here to tell you that you need to come with me to the Elders' Hall first thing tomorrow morning. The title of the chief disciple of the Ren character will be decided tomorrow. What? Why the rush? Chu Xingyu was taken aback. Even though he had long considered the title of chief of the Ren class to be his for the taking, he was still surprised by his grandfather's eagerness. It's only been a little over a month since they started. Under normal circumstances, it should take at least another 2 months before they decide, Who will be the chief disciple? Huang Yi snorted coldly. It's not that I'm in a hurry, it's that others are in a hurry. Chu Xingyu was taken aback, as if he understood something, and a hint of displeasure appeared on his face. Grandpa is talking about Li Yun from the Ren 95 Academy. I just don't understand. What's so great about that Li Yun? He's just a 5th grade talent. Why would Elder Zhang Kong push someone like that to compete for the title of chief of the Ren-ranked group? Could it be that Elder Zhang Kong is truly getting old, and his eyesight is failing? Huang Yi's face turned cold and he snapped, "Shut up." Chu Xingyu immediately shrank back and whispered, "I'm sorry, Grandpa, I misspoke." Huang Yi reprimanded him with dissatisfaction. "How many times have I told you? This is the Tianwu sect, not your own home. You need to watch your words. Who are you and who is Zhang Kong? Whether he's old or not is none of your business." Just based on what you just said, what if someone happened to hear it? You don't even need to think about becoming the chief of the Ren class anymore. Just veto it. What is a chief executive officer? The chief disciple not only has a higher status and power, but is also a role model for tens of thousands of disciples. A disciple who does not even know how to respect the sect elders is not qualified to be the chief disciple at all. Do you understand? Chu Xingyu nodded hurriedly, admitting his mistake repeatedly, but he still felt unconvinced and thought his grandfather was being too serious. He only made a few complaints, and they were said in his grandfather's secluded residence. If his grandfather hadn't revealed them, who would have known? He's such a stubborn old man. I hope you truly understand. Otherwise, even if I shamelessly push you to the top position, I cannot guarantee your entry into the inner sect. Ultimately, you have to walk your own path, and how far you go depends on your own abilities. Huang Yi offered a few words of earnest advice. Then he said, I received news that a young disciple entered Cang Yun residence tonight. He must be Li Yun, the one recommended by Zhang Kong. I inquired about it indirectly before, and Li Yun hasn't been around for the past few days. He only appeared tonight, so he must have just returned. But now that he's back, given Zhang Kong's personality, he will definitely take Li Yun to the Elders' Hall tomorrow to finalize the title of Chief of the Ren Division. So you have to go tomorrow too. Not only do you have to go, but you also have to show the Elders what you can do to convince them. In addition, you also need to be mentally prepared. You and Li Yun are not the only ones who aspire to be the chief disciple of the Ren family. In the past 2 days, I have received news that elders from the Ren 13th Academy, Ren 27th Academy, and Ren 66th Academy are recommending candidates. If I'm not mistaken, they should show up tomorrow as well. Chu Xingyu was taken aback for a moment, but immediately revealed a strong sense of confidence. Grandpa, don't worry, your grandson will definitely not let you down. The chief of the Ren class will definitely be mine. Huang Yi smiled and said, It's good to be confident. As the chief, you should have this confidence, but don't forget that too much confidence is arrogance. I know your strength. You have achieved minor success in stance training and are at the 3rd level of body tempering. Your father spent a lot of money to buy an enlightenment fruit so that you could become the chief. It is indeed extraordinary. But you must also understand that if other elders dare to recommend someone to compete for the chief position, they are definitely not mediocre. You must remember this, otherwise you will make a fool of yourself, and it will be a stain on your reputation for life. Yes, grandson understands. Grandson will definitely keep in mind his grandfather's teachings. Very well, you can go back now. Grandson takes his leave. Chu Xingyu bowed respectfully before leaving Luanbieu. The moment he stepped out of the gate, a shadow fell across his handsome face. Outrageous. It's like there are no better cats and dogs everywhere. What kind of class do they have that they dare to compete with me, Chu Xingyu, for the top spot? And your maternal grandfather. What maternal grandfather? He's just an old, stubborn man. He's clearly an outer sect elder, yet he's going to such lengths to help me get a chief position with the character Ren in his name. He's completely useless. You want me to be humble and modest. If I have the ability, why should I be humble and modest? If I'm humble and modest, what's the point of having ability? Why should I compete for the chief title? What a joke. Tomorrow I will show those elders who is truly the chosen one who is qualified to be the chief. Cang Yunju, the residence of Gyu Hongyan, an outer sect elder. This was an old woman with a full head of silver hair but rosy skin. She was also giving careful instructions to a young disciple. Fingeling, the chief disciple of Ren 66 Academy. This is an extremely cute woman with big, watery eyes that seemed to be smiling every second. Interestingly, she was barefoot. Her feet were as white as jade, her toes were like crystal beads, and each ankle was tied with a bell with a red rope. It makes a jingling sound when it walks. Gyu Hongyan was speechless and couldn't help but say, "Hey, Fingeling, can't you listen to me? Put on some shoes and take off those jingling bells. Is it that hard?" The sound made my eyes almost see stars. The wind chimes chuckled, their smiles as bright as the sunshine. "But elder," my mother said, "this is the rule of our Feng clan. Unless I find my ideal husband, I cannot wear shoes, let alone take off the bell. If I pick them beforehand, my mother will beat me to death." Never mind, forget I said anything. Gyu Hongyan said helplessly, "Whatever you want, just remember what I said. Come with me to the elders' hall first thing tomorrow morning. With your qualifications, you are the top disciple of the Ren class." "I know, Elder Gyu, Aunt Hong, you're so long-winded." You're really making me furious. Go back and rest. If you keep making noise here, I'll be half dead. Chapter 43, he's a piece of trash, and you're no better, you're all scum. The outer gate was destined to be anything but peaceful that night. The title of chief disciple is an honor for outer disciples, but it is also a qualification for elders who successfully recommend chief disciples. When faced with a stake in the outcome, no one will easily give it up. However, having confidence is one thing, but to truly finalize the result, one still needs to demonstrate sufficient persuasive ability. In response to this, Li Yun wasn't actually that clear. Even if they understand, they might not take it seriously, since his current strength is already far beyond what an outer disciple who has only been in the sect for a little over a month can be expected to achieve. If they still can't win a top spot, that would be truly ridiculous. Upon returning to the gate of Ren 95 courtyard, he prepared to go in and wash up. Sudden, a figure swiftly appeared behind him, its 5 fingers like hooks digging fiercely into his shoulder. Li Yun reacted extremely quickly. With a slight shift in his footing, he swiftly moved half a foot to the side, dodging the sudden claw attack, and then unleashed a tiger-tamming fist. Bang! A dull thud sounded. The figure that attacked Li Yun from behind flew 7 or 8 meters away like a tattered sack, crashing heavily to the ground and spitting out a mouthful of blood. Hateful! Upon hearing the familiar voice, Li Yun knew who it was. It was Zhao Yuefu from the C-77 hospital again. "It's you again." Li Yun turned and walked towards Zhao Lefu, his face grim. "Zhao Yuefu, it seems you senior disciples really don't take us new disciples seriously, huh? You keep bothering me, and you even ambushed me from the entrance of Ren 95 Academy. Do you really think I have no temper?" Li Yun walked up to Zhao Lefu, suddenly squatted down, and with lightning speed, grabbed Zhao Lefu's throat, pulling his body up. The heavy force between the 5 fingers caused Zhao Yuefu to suffocate on the spot. Li Yun, don't be so arrogant. Didn't you just say that you wanted our young master Wu to come see you in person? If you're so capable, then come with me." "Go with you? Who the hell do you think you are? You think you can just tell me to go with you and I'll go with you? You don't even deserve to." Li Yun sneered and casually slammed Zhao Lefu's body to the ground. Click. With that one blow, Zhao Lefu's face contorted in pain, and he rolled on the ground, writhing in agony. At least 3 of his ribs were broken. He simply didn't dare to make a sound. Instead, he endured the pain and cursed through gritted teeth. "Li Yun, you dog, if you have the guts, kill me. Otherwise, I will repay this grudge tenfold. And don't get too cocky. You killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu, didn't you? Let me tell you, if you dare not go to see our young master Wu tonight, the news that you killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu will spread throughout the entire outer sect tomorrow. Let's see how you explain this to the punishment hall then." Upon hearing this, Li Yun suddenly realized that He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu, whom he had killed that night, seemed to be disciples of the Bing 77 Academy, just like Zhao Lefu and the others. Therefore, the so-called young master Wu tonight, Wu Yuikong, the chief of the 77th Academy, was not actually sent by Zhao Chuanfeng and Liu Ningkong. Instead, he discovered the truth about He Tingfeng and the others' murder and wanted to use it to blackmail him. Once Li Yan understood this, he became less hesitant. A cold smile appeared on his face. "Okay. Young Master Wu, is it? I'd like to see what he has to say to me. Get up and lead the way." Li Yun kicked out suddenly, sending Zhao Lefu flying more than 10 meters away. Poor Zhao Yuifu was bruised and battered. His old wounds hadn't healed and new ones had appeared. He was not only in unbearable pain, but also filled with humiliation. He never dreamed that Li Yun would be so strong. He originally thought that the reason he and Li Qin were left behind by Li Yun was just because Li Yun ambushed them and they were caught off guard. But he was wrong. That's just wishful thinking. However, it is a disgrace that a disciple of the dignified C-77 outer sect, who has cultivated for 2 years, was injured by a newcomer who has only been in the sect for a month, and was almost completely crushed without any resistance. If word gets out, he'll be too ashamed to face anyone. Fortunately, Li Yun was too arrogant, and after being provoked by him, he finally followed him. Once we get to Wu Xiao's place, we'll make that bastard Li Yun know what real suffering is. But before the thought could even settle, he did. Li Yun had already caught up with him, and without saying a word, kicked him again, sending him flying once more. "Damn it, can't we walk faster? Do you think I have a lot of free time?" "You." Getting up from the ground once more, Zhao Lefu's eyes were practically spitting out murderous rage. This damned Li Yun was clearly deliberately humiliating him. He instinctively wanted to yell angrily, but to his surprise, 2 of his teeth fell out as soon as he opened his mouth. This moment, Zhao Lefu was completely dumbfounded. He hurriedly covered his mouth, mumbled a few words in a slurred voice, and then, enduring the pain, took off running. Li Yun watched Zhao Lefu's retreating figure and gave a cold smile. Instead, they followed at a leisurely pace. He watched as Zhao Lefu ran into the grove where he had been hiding to cultivate, and his expression suddenly became somewhat strange. Good heavens. They really know how to pick a location. If they knew that He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu died in that grove of trees and were turned into a puddle of pus by the corpse dissolving powder, I wonder what they would think. At this time, in the woods, Wu Yuikong still held his dagger, sitting on a tree branch, gently swaying, utterly bored. Below, 5 disciples from the C-77 Academy were also whispering, discussing whether Li Yun would come and whether he dared to come. Suddenly, Zhao Yuifu rushed in, his steps unsteady, his face pale and contorted in pain. He collapsed in front of everyone as soon as he arrived. "Young Master Wu, you must avenge me. That damned Li Yun ambushed me again, and when I wasn't paying attention, he severely injured me." Ultimately, Zhao Lefu didn't have the courage to admit that he had been seriously injured by Li Yun's punch after failing to ambush him. That would be too humiliating. But when he opened his mouth, the holes from the 2 missing front teeth were clearly visible to Wu Yuikong and the others. Wu Yuikong was immediately enraged. He leaped down from the tree branch and kicked Zhao Yuifu. "Your teeth were knocked out. You're a complete piece of trash. If I can't even handle a newbie who's only been doing this for a little over a month, I'll never be able to face anyone who wants to follow me, Wu Yuikong. It was at this time that, outside the woods, a mocking voice also rang out. He's a piece of trash and you're all no better, just scum. Ha. A sound followed. Li Huyang's figure also appeared in the woods. He walked slowly towards Wu Yuikong and the others, his face showing no fear, only contempt and coldness. Chapter 40 For the battle begins, 1 against 5, one punch severely injures. Li Yun. Young Master Wu, this kid is Li Yun. When Li Qin saw Li Yun appear, she immediately cried out and then helped Zhao Lefu, who was trembling with pain, to his feet. Wu Yukong's face was gloomy. His eyes revealed a venomous glint. You're Li Yun. It seems I really underestimated you. Not only did you have the guts to ambush Zhao Yufu, but you also had the audacity to enter this forest. You're truly impressive. If I'm not mistaken, you killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu that night by launching a sneak attack, didn't you? Li Yun suddenly laughed, a smile as radiant as a blooming flower, so radiant that it inexplicably made Wu Yuikong feel a surge of irritation and disgust. Who is He Tingfeng? And who is Su Yaowu? I don't know him. Li Yun isn't stupid. How could he possibly admit to murder? Wu Yuikong was taken aback, inwardly cursing Li Yun for being cunning. He originally intended to trick Li Yun, taking advantage of his youthful arrogance to make Li Yun confess in front of everyone that he had killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu. After all, he had no substantial evidence to prove that Li Yun had killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu. Unexpectedly, Li Yun denied it and even pretended not to know him. Damn, is this how a newbie who has only been doing this for a little over a month should behave? Looking at that fool Zhao Lefu, who had been seriously injured by Li Yun's sneak attack, he suddenly realized that Li Yun was not as easy to deal with as he had imagined. Dare to do it, but not dare to take responsibility. He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu disappeared that night after they came to find you. They were clearly killed by your sneak attack. Don't try to deny it. What do you mean by cheating? You went through all that trouble, having people ambush me and set up ambushes at the entrance of Ren 95 courtyard, just to smear me. If that's the case, then I'm not interested in continuing this conversation with you. Because I've had a good habit since I was a child, which is that I never talk to idiots. It's just a waste of breath. After saying that, Li Yun turned around and made a move to leave. Stop. Wu Yuikong flew into a rage on the spot. Several disciples from the C-77 Academy, except for the injured Zhao Lefu who remained still, rushed out after Wu Yuikong roared and surrounded Li Yun. What did you just say? You dare to insult me. Li Yun glanced at Li Qin and the others, smiled disdainfully, and then turned to look at Wu Yuikong. What's wrong? You bunch of idiots are allowed to stay up all night and cause me trouble, but I'm not allowed to curse you out a bit to vent my anger. Besides, what did I say wrong? I am simply stating a fact. You have no evidence whatsoever, yet you inexplicably come here to accuse me of murder. What are you if not idiots? Could it be De Kongaming? Calling him both an idiot and a genius infuriated Wu Yuikong. He had never been insulted like that to his face before. Let's do it. Beat this damn bastard to a pulp. I refuse to believe he can deny what he did. If he doesn't admit it, I'll torture him until he does. Since bluffing won't work, let's just go for the hard part. Wu Yuikong was already convinced that He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu were killed by Li Yun, and he wasn't afraid of finding the wrong person. Li Qin and the others could no longer contain themselves, and they all unleashed their martial arts skills, rushing directly towards Li Yun. Damn it, you little bastard. A mere newbie who's only been in the sect for a little over a month dares to insult our young master Wu. He's simply courting death. They were already very unhappy when Li Yun walked into the woods with a mocking expression, and now that the 5 of them attacked at the same time, they were even more ruthless. relying on the fact that he had cultivated for 2 years first and had reached the 9th level of body tempering. He completely disregarded Li Yun. It was as easy as beating a stray dog. But who would have thought? Li Yun, however, could only sneer. "You started this, so don't blame me." The words fell. Li Yun took a step forward, like a shooting star chasing the moon, and suddenly a powerful aura burst forth from his body. His muscles and bones roared, emitting a sound like a tiger's roar. Tiger Tamming Fist. The perfected Tiger Tamming Fist was unleashed with tremendous force. It features a fierce and domineering character. Bang, 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 bang. A fierce wind suddenly swept through the woods, dancing with the movements of Li Yun's fists. Several muffled sounds erupted. Li Qin and the other 4 screamed as they were sent flying like tattered sacks. Upon landing, all 5 men coughed up bright red blood and lay on the ground, unable to move an inch. In that brief exchange, Li Yun has already severely injured Li Qin and the other 4 with his domineering and fierce punches. They are in a worse state than Zhao Lefu. If they are not rescued in time, the 5 of them may not even live to see tomorrow. What? How is this possible? Wu Yuekong was immediately shocked by this extremely tragic scene. He couldn't believe it until he saw it with his own eyes. Li Yun was able to seriously injure Li Qin and the others in a head-on confrontation. This is 1 against 5. Moreover, all 5 of them, including Li Qin, had reached the 9th level of body tempering. Suddenly, Wu Yuekong seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly turned around, casting an extremely angry and even murderous glare at Zhao Lefu. He suddenly realized that Zhao Lefu hadn't been telling the truth. It wasn't Li Yun who ambushed Zhao Lefu at all. Rather, Zhao Lefu attempted to ambush Li Yun but was instead severely injured by him. However, this guy was afraid of losing face and dared not tell the truth. However, because Zhao Lefu dared not tell the truth, they all misjudged Li Yun, which directly led to the serious injuries of Li Qin and the other 4. "Foolish fellow, I'll settle the score with you later." Wu Yuekong glared fiercely at Zhao Lefu, then turned and pounced on Li Yun. With a single step, he soared into the air, swift as a hawk. With a swift slash of the dagger in his hand, more than a dozen afterimages appeared in an instant. With a chilling sharpness, it quickly enveloped Li Yun. Li Yun's pupils shrank sharply. He realized that Zhao Lefu's strength was far superior to Zhao Lefu and Li Qin. The other party was not at the body tempering realm at all, but a refining force realm expert who had already cultivated internal energy. However, Li Yun was not afraid. Fighting isn't just about cultivation level. You also need martial arts skills. He has enough confidence in his martial arts skills. With a single step, Li Yun's body miraculously slid back 3 feet, quickly escaping the dagger's edge. He then leaped into the air, his 5 fingers like hooks, and launched a preemptive attack on Wu Yuekong. Even with his eagle claw technique at its peak, he managed to create over a dozen incredibly sharp afterimages. In a short time, the sharp 5 fingers clashed fiercely with Wu Yuekong's dagger dozens of times, and the sound of metal clashing echoed directly beyond the forest. Just then, not far from the woods, several inspectors from the execution hall passed by, their steps suddenly halting in unison. Several pairs of eyes swept towards the grove, their gazes extremely sharp. Chapter 45, Fierce Battle, Thunder Fist Unleashed. In the woods, Li Yun and Wu Yuekong both unleashed extremely fast speeds, so fast that they almost left blurry afterimages, crisscrossing and colliding fiercely. Flying Star Step. Eagle Claw Kung Fu. Damn it, how could a newbie who has only been practicing for a little over a month, possibly, master 2 high-grade body tempering realm martial arts, and both of them have reached perfection? With Wu Yuekong's roar, his body was forced back 3 meters by the tearing force emanating from Li Yun's eagle claw technique. As the chief of the 77th Academy, and a martial artist whose internal strength had reached the third level of the refining realm, Wu Yuikong felt unprecedented anger and humiliation. Enraged, he brandished his dagger, swift as lightning, leaving streaks of cold light in his wake. 9 pairs are deadly. 9 beams of cold light whistled through the air, each one like a pear blossom in full bloom. After entering the refinement realm, in order to maximize the burst of his internal energy, he specifically chose a refinement realm martial art called Pear Blossom Kill from the armory. After 6 months of arduous practice, I finally achieved a minor level of mastery. He might not be considered outstanding among the tens of thousands of disciples in the entire Bing class, but within the Bing 77 Academy, he was absolutely unmatched. No one could withstand 3 of his moves. But now, Li Yun, a mere newcomer who has only been a student for a little over a month, not only withstood more than 10 of his moves head-on in a short period of time, but also forced him to retreat. This is simply unbearable. So this is all a martial artist at the refinement realm is. Someone like you dares to call yourself the chief. It's a joke. It seems your C77 Academy is full of useless trash. A cold smile appeared on Li Yun's lips, and his aura suddenly changed. It was as if he had transformed from a soaring eagle into a fierce tiger. The claw transformed into a fist, pounding wildly into Wu Yuikong's chest. Fighting against a martial artist at the refinement realm, knowledge points plus 100. Fighting a martial artist at the refinement realm, cognition points plus 115. The system message kept flashing. Not only did it not affect Li Yun in the slightest, it actually made him extremely excited. Before returning from the valley, he had suspected that he might already be able to contend with some martial artists at the Qi refining realm, and now that has finally been confirmed. A martial artist who has cultivated internal energy to the refinement realm, whose internal and external energies are unified, is indeed powerful. When combined with martial arts techniques at the refinement realm, it becomes even more unstoppable. However, he was at the 13th level of body tempering, possessed a strength of 3,000 jin, and had reached the pinnacle of the upper-grade martial arts of the body tempering realm. Every move he made also possessed immense power, not much inferior to others. Certainly, as anyone who has studied physics knows, the comparison between strong and weak is not actually fixed. It depends on the frame of reference. Perhaps there's another possibility. It's not that he's too strong, but rather that Wu Yuikong, the chief of the 77th Academy, is too weak. But that's not important. The important thing is that he has the upper hand at this point, and that's enough. Hateful. Another fist technique has been perfected. Damn Li Yun, who the hell are you? How can you have such strength? He watched as the cold light he unleashed was shattered once again. Wu Yuikong's mentality was almost unbalanced. He never imagined Li Yun would be so powerful. If he had known earlier, he would never have bothered to cause trouble for Li Yun, let alone try to make money off him. This was an impossible thing, and it only angered Li Yun. To make an enemy of such a prodigious newcomer is tantamount to inviting a mortal foe into one's life. But now they're in a bind. Once the life-or-death struggle begins, it's not something anyone can stop at will. It's either you die or I live. Pear blossoms everywhere. Wu Yuikong steeled her resolve and decided to go all in. He desperately mustered all the internal energy within his body and unleashed it wildly. In an instant, the dagger in his hand struck 49 times, the sharp point flashing with an unprecedented brightness, each strike like a pear blossom in full bloom. This is the most exquisite killing move in Pear Blossom Kill. It is also the strongest. However, it consumes a great deal of internal energy. With his current level of internal energy, and considering that Pear Blossom Kill has only reached the minor completion stage, he cannot even unleash it twice in a short period of time. Generally speaking, he doesn't even think about unleashing his full potential unless it's a truly desperate moment. Because internal energy is not infinite. An outburst means an outburst. If you can't kill your opponent after the outbreak, you'll only be in an awkward position. In a life-or-death struggle, this means a crisis is coming. But he had no choice. Li Yun must die tonight. If he doesn't get rid of Li Yun, he will never be able to eat or sleep properly after today. And he will have to be on guard against Li Yun's revenge at any time. Such a prodigy, given enough time to rise to prominence, will become his nightmare. The disciples of the 77th Academy standing nearby were stunned, their faces filled with panic. Especially Zhao Lefu, who was the least injured, was now filled with regret. He never expected that even Wu Yuikong would be forced to this point by Li Yun. He originally thought that as long as he lured Li Yun into the woods, he could easily take him down with his Wu Yue Kong Lion Li realm strength. That way he could get back all the humiliation he had just suffered in one go. But he thought that was just his opinion. Reality is often much crueler than expected. Now Zhao Lefu no longer had any thoughts of revenge. He only hoped that Wu Yuikong could kill Li Yun after his outburst. Otherwise, after today, he would probably have no place to stand in Tianwu sect. That damned Gu Yunzhang, you're the one who caused all this trouble. If Gu Yunzhang were here right now, Zhao Lefu, who was filled with extreme hatred, would definitely kill Gu Yunzhang even if it meant suffering a lot of pain. If Gu Yunzhang hadn't provoked Li Yun, and if Gu Yunzhang hadn't secretly paid He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu to deal with Li Yun, how could this series of troubles have happened? The culprit is none other than Gu Yunzhang. Kill, kill, kill. Zhao Lefu's eyes were already red, staring intently at the dazzling cold light in front of him, his heart filled with countless roars of anger. I just hope that Li Yun will fall under Wu Yuikong's dagger in the next instant and be riddled with holes. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Faced with that killing move that resembled a blooming pear blossom, Li Yun indeed felt immense pressure. Even with his martial arts skills perfected, he had no choice but to withdraw and temporarily avoid its sharp edge. But he remained calm and unhurried. His figure was not disheveled. It's almost unbelievable that this is a newcomer who has only been in the business for a little over a month and hasn't experienced many life-or-death battles. Sigh, if only I hadn't returned the sword to senior sister Zhang on the way back. With the sorrowful wind sword technique, even a beginner-level one would have been enough to kill Wu Yuikong in one strike. But it doesn't matter. Even without the sorrowful wind sword technique, I'll still kill you. After retreating swiftly for 12 steps, Li Yun's eyes suddenly lit up. He sensed that the peak of the pear blossoms, with their sharp, cold light, was beginning to wane. This was clearly due to Wu Yuikong's insufficient internal energy and subsequent exhaustion. He gave a cold laugh, without hesitation. Thunderclap fist unleashed. A thunderous roar that shook the world. The intent of the fist, which had been deliberately concealed for a long time, was finally unleashed violently at this moment. Stop. How dare you engage in a private fight here? Chapter 46, the disciple didn't mean it, he just couldn't stop himself. No one expected that the inspectors from the Criminal Investigation Department would arrive at this crucial moment. Normally, Wu Yuikong and the others will definitely be afraid. The punishment hall is in charge of all punishments in the Tianwu sect. It is absolutely strict in enforcing the law. If anyone openly violates the sect rules, let alone a mere outer disciple like him, even a true disciple who is more noble than an inner disciple would not dare to go against the punishment hall. If you're caught and taken to the court, you'll be sentenced as you'd like. No one who goes in ever comes out unscathed. They're either dead or badly injured. However, at this moment, Wu Yuikong, who had unleashed a killing move but failed to kill Li Yun, and whose inner strength was suddenly greatly depleted, was overjoyed to notice the arrival of the punishment hall inspectors. I was almost about to shout, "Dad, come save me." That's right. At this moment, the fierce and ominous police inspector of the punishment hall, who was seen as a menacing figure and an ominous presence in Wu Yuikong's eyes, was simply his savior, no different from his own father. He did commit a crime, that's for sure. It's true that you'll suffer a painful lesson after entering the torture chamber. But he hadn't committed a capital offense, so at most he would be subjected to torture in the court and then imprisoned for a period of time before being released. This outcome is far better than being defeated by Li Yun. However, the next second he was horrified. He noticed that Li Yun, who had his back to the disciplinary inspector, showed no sign of stopping after throwing a punch, as if he hadn't heard the disciplinary inspector's angry roar. An incredibly fierce punch, carrying dazzling lightning, slammed through the scattered pear blossoms, revealing a chilling light, and hurtled towards Wu Yuikong's chest with unstoppable force. Just this once. The extremely domineering power of thunder penetrated through the skin and flesh of Wu Yuikong's chest and poured in fiercely. No. Fist intent. It's actually fucking fist intent. Wu Yuikong was practically going crazy. He never expected that Li Yun's intentions would be so vicious. After such a long and fierce battle, he had actually kept his most terrifying fist technique hidden until the very end. This is clearly an attempt to seize an opportunity to kill him in one fell swoop. Even if you've never eaten pork, you've seen pigs run. Wu Yuikong himself failed to cultivate the essence of fist intent, but he was well aware of how terrifying it was. At a critical juncture, he frantically channeled the little internal energy he had left, doing his utmost to block the impact of the fist's intent. His handsome face became incredibly ferocious. It's useless. Along with the impact of the fist's intent, a wisp of thunderous power penetrated, directly crushing his internal energy and instantly dissipating his remaining internal energy. In just a moment, Wu Yuikong felt an unprecedented pain emanating from his chest, as if a ball of thunder and fire had exploded inside him. Heart, lungs. They were severely damaged at the same time. Wu Yuikong let out a shrill scream as her body flew through the air, crashing more than 10 meters away before landing on the trunk of a large tree and falling to the ground. He lost consciousness on the spot. Presumptuous. This process may seem complicated, but it can actually happen in the blink of an eye. The few inspectors from the punishment hall, who had just arrived, after hearing the commotion, had only managed to reprimand Wu Yuikong a couple of times before Li Yun had already sent him flying. For the inspectors of the Criminal Investigation Department, this was nothing short of a challenge to the department's authority. Without hesitation, they drew the special weapon of the punishment hall, a pitch-black weapon that looked like a ruler. It was called the Heavenly Punishment Ruler. When used in conjunction with the martial arts specially trained by the punishment hall inspectors, it immediately gave off a feeling of strict discipline, coldness, and cruelty. Whoosh whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the attacks of the disciplinary hall inspectors were about to engulf Li Yun's figure. Logically, Li Yun should have retaliated in this situation, but he didn't. Once again, he acted unpredictably, boldly choosing not to fight back and simply standing there silently, seemingly ready to surrender. Faced with this situation, even the inspectors of the punishment hall had to put away the Heavenly Punishment Ruler, barely managing to stop all their attacks before injuring Li Yun. Seeing this, Zhao Lefu was so angry that he almost vomited blood again. He cursed inwardly. Go ahead and kill them. Aren't you supposed to be inspectors of the execution hall, supposed to be invincible? Then go ahead and kill. Unfortunately, his roar was useless. It is impossible to change the will of the inspectors of the criminal court. 5 inspectors from the punishment hall arrived. After they stopped fighting, one of them rushed over to check on Wu Yuikong's condition and shouted, "Boss, he's not dead, but his heart and lungs were injured by the fist's intent. If he doesn't receive timely treatment, he won't survive the night." As he spoke, he went to check on Li Qin and the others. The results were about the same. They are all seriously injured and must receive medical treatment, or they will die tonight. Of all the participants, only Zhao Yuefu received a minor injury assessment with 5 broken ribs, 2 missing front teeth, and some superficial wounds. Even so, 6 people were seriously injured, and their lives were uncertain, while 1 person was slightly injured. This was a rare and significant event, even to the inspectors of the punishment hall. The leader's face was gloomy. He glanced back and forth between Zhao Lefu and Li Yun and said in a deep voice, "How dare you fight like this in private, causing such serious consequences? Do you have any respect for the rules of the sect? Especially you. I clearly told you to stop, but you ignored me and severely injured the person. I even suspect you were trying to kill them on purpose." Li Yun quickly cupped his hands in greeting. "Are you all inspectors from the Court of Punishments?" The leader, named Lin Taishu, turned green with anger upon hearing this. Even now, after being caught red-handed, he still dared to play dumb. He was so angry that he went berserk on the spot. "This is outrageous. We're not inspectors from the punishment hall, are we? What are you still pretending to be stupid for?" Li Yun cupped his hands again, looking completely innocent, and said, "Esteemed inspectors." "Shut up. We're not adults. We're inspectors from the punishment hall. According to the rules, you should call us senior brothers." "Ah, yes, yes, yes. Fellow senior brothers of the punishment hall, I am innocent. I am Li Yun, an outer disciple of the Ren 95 Academy. I have only been a disciple for a little over a month, and I really did not know that you were punishment hall inspectors. Besides, I wasn't the one who started this tonight. I just returned from Elder Zhang Kong's Cang Yunju residence. I was originally going to go back to Ren 95 courtyard to wash up and rest. It was this person who claimed to be Zhao Lefu, a disciple of Bing 77 courtyard, who hid at the courtyard gate and attacked me. They forced their disciples into this forest, and then they surrounded and attacked me. I didn't know them at all before tonight. I was forced to fight back in order to protect myself. The patrolling senior brother just shouted, and I didn't mean to hold back. It's just that I had just mastered the fist intent and was unleashing it at this critical moment of life and death, so I simply couldn't stop. I humbly request the understanding of my esteemed fellow inspectors of the punishment hall." Lin Taishu was immediately shocked and exclaimed in disbelief, "What did you say? With your strength, you're just a Ren rank outer disciple who's only been in the sect for a little over a month. Chapter 47 said he was a newcomer. Why don't you believe it? Boss, don't listen to his nonsense. He only started in September, less than 2 months ago. How could a newbie like him have such skills? He's clearly lying." The inspector from the punishment hall hurriedly said, "Yes, boss, there are too many people like this who commit crimes, but desperately try to find excuses to exonerate themselves. It's completely unbelievable. Regardless of their identities, just bring them all to the punishment hall, and everything will be clear at a glance." Lin Taishu took a deep breath and looked at Li Yun with a cold smile. "I've seen plenty of people who try to get themselves out of trouble after committing a crime, but this is the first time I've seen someone like you pretending to be a newcomer. Stop talking nonsense, send a signal, and call someone to come and take those seriously injured ones away as well." "Yes." "Li Yun, you don't believe him. He even said he was impersonating a newcomer to exonerate himself. Damn, what kind of way is it to get away with impersonating a newcomer?" However, given the circumstances, he did not try to deny it. The other party clearly didn't believe him, so saying more would be a waste of breath and might even cause a bigger misunderstanding. He didn't want to have a conflict with the punishment hall. It's not cowardice, it's just utterly meaningless. The punishment hall is responsible for law enforcement and maintaining the order and rules of the Tianwu sect, which has no conflict of interest with him. Making enemies with the punishment hall will not only bring you no benefit, but will also offend them, making them a target of your attention and causing trouble. One of the court inspectors immediately took out something resembling a firework tube, pulled it open towards the sky, and a dazzling beam of light shot into the air. Soon, a few minutes later, More than a dozen inspectors from the Criminal Investigation Department arrived at the woods. Upon seeing the trees lying on the ground, one of the leaders actually revealed a rather excited smile. His expression was quite amused. "Wow, that's quite a commotion. 6 people are lying on the ground and one has minor injuries. Was it all done by one person? Tusk, that's pretty ruthless. We outer sect patrols haven't encountered such a grand scene in a long time." "All right, Lu Dong. Stop with the sarcastic remarks. Hurry up and have someone carry those seriously injured people away first. They won't live to see dawn if they don't get treatment soon. As for you and you, go straight to the Hall of Punishment." Lin Taishu turned around and pointed at Li Yun and Zhao Lefu. With a wave of his hand, 2 inspectors from the punishment hall came over, tied their hands, and then escorted them to the punishment hall. The Tianwu sect's punishment hall is mainly divided into 3 parts: the main hall, the inner branch hall, and the outer branch hall. As the name suggests, the outer sect branches are mainly responsible for the outer sect disciples, while the inner sect branches are mainly responsible for the inner sect disciples. As for the main hall, that is responsible for the entire Tianwu sect. However, under normal circumstances, very few things can alarm the headquarters anymore. For the main hall to personally intervene in upholding the sect rules or enforcing the law, it would have to be either an outer sect elder like Zhang Kong or Huang Huizong who commits the offense, or a true disciple who does so. But it's so rare. It's a rare sight, perhaps only once every few decades. But if it really happens, it will be a major event that will shock the entire Tianwu sect, and it will be of no small matter. Although the conflict between Li Yun and Wu Yuikong resulted in 6 serious injuries and 1 minor injury, it was far from enough to qualify them to be escorted to the main hall. They were escorted to the outer branch hall. Each day, a designated elder from the outer sect's branch hall is on duty to handle disciples who have made minor violations of sect rules or committed other offenses. Tonight, Elder Hafen is in charge of guarding the Hall of Punishments. This is a dark-faced and serious old man. His eyes sharpened when he saw Li Yun and Zhao Lefu being escorted into the torture hall by Lin Taishu. Those on duty nearby couldn't help but smirk at the sight. Those who frequently visit the punishment hall know that among all the elders, Elder Hafen has the worst temper and is intolerant of any wrongdoing, showing no mercy to disciples who make mistakes. No matter who they are or what their background is, they should be punished as they are, and no one should try to plead for them. Trying to plead for leniency will only anger him and lead to a harsher sentence. So, these 2 are having a bit of bad luck tonight. Lin Taishu, what's the situation with them? Reporting to Elder Hai, the matter is as follows. Lin Taishu bowed and stepped forward to report directly, without deliberately keeping it from Li Yun and Zhao Lefu. Elder Hafen grew angrier and angrier as he listened, until finally his eyes blazed with fury. He slammed his fist on the table and stood up abruptly. "You bastard! How dare you disregard the sect rules like this, engaging in a private fight in the dead of night, resulting in 6 people being seriously injured and 1 person suffering minor injuries. You, tell me immediately which academy you belong to, and don't try to fool me with lies. I'm telling you, I will immediately send someone to verify the identity you give me. Anyone found to have misrepresented their identity will be punished 3 times more severely." Hai Fen glared at Li Yun. Through Lin Taishu's description, he already knew that Li Yun was one of the parties in the private fight, and that even when the inspectors from the Criminal Investigation Department came and shouted for him to stop, he still fiercely injured people with his fists. Afterwards, he even concealed his identity and attempted to impersonate a newcomer to get away with it. This is not just ordinary despicable, it's utterly despicable. However, as an elder of the punishment hall, although he abhorred disciples violating the sect rules and fighting among themselves, he still had to strive for fairness and could not make a judgment based solely on Lin Taishu's one-sided account. seeing the angry expression on Haifen's face. Li Yun naturally knew that it was time for him to speak. He took a step forward. He said neither humbly nor arrogantly, "Disciple Li Yun, an outer disciple of the Ren 95th Academy, pays respects to the elder of the punishment hall. I did not impersonate anyone. What I said to the punishment hall inspector in the grove just now was all true. If the elder does not believe it, he can immediately send someone to the Ren 95 courtyard to verify with Steward Su Qing, or go to the outer sect Elder Zhang Kong to verify it. Before I was ambushed and coerced tonight, I had just left Elder Zhang Kong's Cang Yunju residence and was preparing to return to Ren 95 courtyard to rest." Haifen's expression immediately changed. Lin Taishu was even more dumbfounded, somewhat incredulous. Why was it still the same story? Could it all be true? This was too exaggerated. A newcomer who had only been a disciple for a little over a month took on 7 senior disciples with the rank of B in their names. Not only did he not suffer any losses, he also managed to inflict 6 serious injuries and 1 minor injury. Who would believe that? But suddenly Lin Taishu thought of something. His gaze swept towards Zhao Lefu, and he strode forward, shouting at Zhao Lefu, "And what about you? What is your identity? Is what he said true?" I. Zhao Yuifu panicked, and coupled with his already serious injuries, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground in desperation. Upon seeing this, Lin Taishu's face darkened immediately, and he felt quite regretful for not asking about Zhao Lefu's situation in the grove first. They had no choice but to apologize to Haifen. "Elder Hai, I made a mistake. Because 6 people were seriously injured, I was in a hurry to bring them here and didn't ask beforehand." "That's enough." Haifen waved his hand. "Take that guy out for treatment first, then you go to Cang Yunju residence yourself and invite Zhang Kong over so he can recognize him in person." "Yes." Li Yun was speechless. "I already said I'm a newbie. Why don't you believe me?" Chapter 48. It seems that my heavenly martial sect is truly about to produce an extraordinary genius. Lin Taishu dragged the unconscious Zhao Lefu out. Haifen took a deep look at Li Yun, who remained calm and composed, and couldn't help but wonder if what this kid said was true, and that he really was a newcomer. This would be an exaggeration if it were a newcomer. "Xiaojia, I'll give you another chance. If you really are pretending to be a newcomer, it's not too late to admit it now." Li Yun smiled wryly and said, "Elder, there's really no need. This disciple is indeed Li Yun, a disciple of the Ren 95 Academy. If you really don't believe me, you can ask Elder Zhang Kong when he arrives." "Okay, if that's how you put it, then I'll take you for a complete newbie. So tell me, what exactly happened tonight? Why did they ambush you?" In fact, by the time they arrived at the Shanghai cemetery, they had basically come to believe that Li Yun was a newcomer. He didn't believe anyone could be so stubborn. They had already sent someone to invite the outer sect elders, yet they still dared to renege on their promise. That's why he was even more shocked. As a disciple who has only been a student for a little over a month, he actually managed to take on 7 opponents at once, leaving 6 of the 7 third-year disciples severely injured and 1 slightly injured. This is absolutely unprecedented and sets a precedent. What kind of qualifications does one need to achieve this level? Although he was an elder of the punishment hall, and training disciples was not within his consideration or authority, as a member of the Tianwu sect, he would be happy if the Tianwu sect truly produced an extraordinary genius. He was even considering that if Li Yun's mistake tonight wasn't too serious, he might forgive him for once. Li Yun also vaguely sensed that Haifen's tone had softened somewhat. I know his attitude has changed. He then carefully chose his words and said, "Actually, this disciple doesn't know. It's probably due to a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding? What do you mean?" "Elder, a few days ago, Senior Sister Zhang Ruohan from the Vermilion Bird Academy of the Inner Sect came to me, hoping that I could leave the sect with her and do her a favor. Senior Sister Zhang has taken good care of me, so I will naturally do it without hesitation. So, I left with senior sister Zhang. I only returned tonight because Elder Zhang Kong wanted to promote his disciple to be the chief of the Ren class. Upon returning to the sect, I parted ways with senior sister Zhang to pay my respects to Elder Zhang Kong. On the way, the disciple from the 77th Academy, who called himself Zhao Lefu, and another disciple who called himself Li Qin, suddenly stopped me and tried to forcibly take me to see a person named Wu Yuikong. Oh, by the way, they called him Young Master Wu. However, I do not know Zhao Yuifu, Li Qin, or that Young Master Wu. I have never heard of them, so it is impossible for me to go with them. Therefore, I got rid of them. Upon hearing this, Hafen nodded involuntarily. Good. Since you were able to defeat them, you didn't force your way in when they first tried to intercept you. Instead, you chose to break free. That's very rational, and that's good. Then what? Then I paid my respects to Elder Zhang Kong at Cang Yun residence. I stayed at Cang Yun residence for about an hour before returning to Ren 95 courtyard. However, unexpectedly, at the gate of Ren 95 courtyard, I was ambushed by the person who claimed to be Zhao Lefu. Because it was late at night, and I was suddenly attacked, I had no choice but to fight back, which is how I injured Zhao Yuifu. Upon hearing this, Hafen's expression turned rather grim. You scoundrel! A senior disciple in his 3rd year of training dares to ambush a newcomer under the cover of darkness. This is utterly outrageous. Your fight back is perfectly fine. Even if it resulted in accidental death, let alone injury, it doesn't violate any sect rules. The nature of the sea burial site is immediately defined. Then what? Because I didn't understand the situation, I held back and didn't really seriously injure Zhao Lefu. But he suddenly accused me of killing disciples from the 77th Academy, one named He Ting Feng and the other named Su Yaowu. This is completely unfounded. I don't know those two people either, so I denied it on the spot. I suspect that it was young Master Wu who ordered him to say that in order to provoke my anger, so that I would go with him to pay my respects to young Master Wu. The disciple then said that if there is any problem, let that young martial artist come to find the disciple himself. But Zhao Lefu threatened his disciple, saying that if the disciple did not go to pay respects to Wu Shao, he would make the disciple kill he and Su the next day and spread the news throughout the Tianwu sect. I was thinking of going to the Elder Hall with Elder Zhang tomorrow, but I didn't expect this rumor to have spread. So I went with them to that grove to find out why they were making trouble for me. Unfortunately, the disciple did not understand the situation before the conflict broke out. Young Master Wu first ordered 5 people to surround and attack the disciple. The disciple had no choice but to fight back. However, because the disciple was new to martial arts and had not experienced much fighting, he lacked experience and failed to control the strength of his attacks. That's why he seriously injured them. Afterwards, young Master Wu personally attacked me, but he was a master of the refining strength realm. I knew I was no match for him, so I could only fight with all my might, unleashing the thunderclap fist intent that I had only recently mastered. Just then, my fellow disciples from the punishment hall arrived, but I was already unable to retract my fist intent. Helplessly, I severely injured that young martial artist again. Hafen. After listening to Li Yun's detailed explanation, Hai Fen was at a loss for words. If what Li Yun said is true, then tonight's private fight was purely Wu Shao and his gang's own doing. They were lucky not to be killed. However, as an elder of the punishment hall, he also had a strange feeling that Li Yun's account was too flawless, and suspected that it was carefully fabricated. There's one more crucial point. That is, Li Yun insisted that he did not know Wu Yuikong and his group. So why did the other party slander Li Yun? Why Li Yun and not someone else? Thinking of this, Hai Fen gave Li Yun a deep look. Li Yun, after listening to your explanation, I roughly understand the situation, but can you guarantee that everything you said is true? Of course I dare to do it. I can even confront them face to face. Very well, then let me ask you again. Those two people you mentioned, he and Sue, did you really not kill them? Or was it just a frame-up on their part? As they were talking, Hafen had been intentionally or unintentionally exuding a sharp aura, and he was staring intently into Li Yun's eyes. Li Yun's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't out of guilt, but because the other party was, after all, an elder of the punishment hall, whose strength and prestige were undeniable. How could a mere newbie like him possibly withstand such pressure? He almost instinctively avoided Hafen's gaze. He took a deep breath before saying, "This disciple did not kill he and Sue, nor does this disciple know he and Sue. As for why they falsely accuse this disciple of killing them, this disciple is also baffled. I hope the elder can investigate thoroughly, clarify the situation, and clear this disciple's name." The sea cemetery remained silent. He was still looking at Li Yun with a rather deep gaze. It took him quite a while to finally laugh. "Very well, I will assume for now that what you say is true. You should step aside and rest. We'll discuss everything when Elder Zhang Kong arrives." "Yes." Li Yun cupped his hands in greeting, walked to the side, and sat down on a bench. "Look at your nose, and your heart will follow. Close your eyes and rest." Even his breathing remained perfectly steady. Hai Fen glanced at Li Yun twice and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. It seems that my Tianwu sect is truly about to produce an extraordinary genius. Chapter 49, Confrontation. About half an hour later, a figure rushed to the outer branch hall. It was none other than Zhang Kong. "Li Yun, are you all right?" "It's nothing. It's just that you've gone to so much trouble, running around so late again." "What kind of hardship is this?" "I've learned a bit about the situation. Those bastards from Institute C-77 are incredibly audacious. I'll definitely ask those brats what they're up to later." Zhang Kong was clearly furious. In his view, Li Yun was already a member of the Zhang family, and someone extremely important to the future of the Zhang family. No matter what the reason was for the people from the 77th Academy to attack Li Yun, it was unforgivable. Hai Fen was not surprised by Zhang Kong's anger. Before Zhang Kong arrived, he had already confirmed that Li Yun's identity was genuine. Since that was the case, how could Zhang Kong not value a newcomer who could be called an unparalleled genius, who was about to be pushed out by Zhang Kong to compete for the top position of Ren? That's something that can't be taken too seriously. Hafen even felt that if it were him, he would probably do everything in his power to protect Li Yun. Whether this will lead people to question whether the elders are being unfair is irrelevant. "Zhang Kong, long time no see. I asked you to come so late because I wanted to ask you to help verify Li Yun's identity, but judging from your performance, I already know the answer." Zhang Kong turned around and cupped his hands in a gesture of respect towards Hafen. "Brother Hai, it's been a long time. There is no problem with Li Yun's identity. He is indeed an outer disciple of the Ren 95 Academy, and he is skilled in martial arts such as Thunderclap Fist and Flying Star Step, which were taught to him by Huang Huizong, Li Sixing, and me some time ago." Hai Fen was shocked. "What did you say?" Li Yun learned all his martial arts skills within a little over a month of starting out. "Right. Brother Hai, you should understand what this means, right? To be honest, Huang Huizong, Li Sixing, and I have decided to nominate Li Yun as the chief of the Ren class. He is qualified. Moreover, I believe that in the next 10 years, Li Yun will definitely be a rising star of our Tianwu sect. Looking at the younger generation of Dongyun continent, no one can shake his position." This. Hai Fen isn't stupid. He knows Zhang Kong is putting pressure on him. Hai Fen felt a bit annoyed, but he had to admit that he couldn't easily push back the pressure Zhang Kong was putting on him. At this moment, Lin Taishu also hurriedly walked in. "Reporting to Elder Hai, those fellows have all woken up." "Awake. Since they're awake, bring them all over. This elder wants to hear their explanation for tonight's events. Zhang Kong, since you're here, why don't you stay here for a while?" "Can." Zhang Kong certainly couldn't leave. Joke. If he leaves now, and something unexpected happens, Hafen might lock Li Yun in the dungeon of the punishment hall, and that would be a real mess. Those who oppose Li Yun becoming the chief of the Ren group will then have something to say. Soon, Wu Yuikong and the others were then carried in. Upon seeing the Sea Cemetery and Zhang Kengzai, Wu Yuikong and the others panicked. Their faces, already pale from blood loss, became even paler, practically devoid of color. Hai Fen had no intention of going with them. Regardless of the reason, these people had ambushed Li Yun. So he said coldly, "What explanation do you have for what happened tonight? Why did you attack Li Yun? Explain yourself clearly. If you dare to conceal anything, this elder will show you what the strict rules of the punishment hall are, and that you will never be able to leave." The cold voice of Hafen carried an overwhelming sense of authority. Wu Yuikong and the others trembled in fright. Wu Yuikong glanced at Zhao Lefu and the others, and knew in his heart that things were going to get bad. These guys were not people with strong willpower and could not be intimidated at all. If they speak first, I'm definitely doomed. So, steeling himself, he spoke first. Reporting to the elder, this is largely Li Yun's fault. He ambushed and killed He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu from our Bing 77 Academy. As the chief disciple of Bing 77 Academy, I was furious and decided to confront Li Yun and demand an explanation. But he's too arrogant. Not only did he refuse to explain, but he also attacked us the moment we met, seriously injuring all of us disciples. We beg the elders to do us justice. He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu died such unjust deaths. This is just shifting the blame. Regardless of whether there is evidence or not, we should first insist that Li Yun killed he and Su, at least to ensure that our actions tonight are justified. It can only be said that Wu Yuikong is somewhat clever. Unfortunately, he forgot that Zhang Kong was here. Before Hai Fen could speak, Zhang Kong said coldly, "He Tingfeng, Su Yaowu, you're talking about the two disciples from C77 who suddenly disappeared a while ago, right?" Yes. So, you found the bodies of he and Su? Wu Yuikong was stunned. Corpses? What a joke. If they could find their corpses, why would they be in such a passive position? Explain. Have they found their bodies? Where are they now? No, Elder Zhang's disciple. This disciple did not find their bodies. Faced with Zhang Kong's questioning, Wu Yuikong had no way to evade the question. Upon hearing this, Zhang Kong flew into a rage. Outrageous! How can you conclude that they are dead without finding their bodies, and even assume that Li Yun was the killer? I think you're just using this as an excuse to cause trouble. Brother Hafen, in my opinion, this matter is already clear. It's just that these scoundrels from Institute C77 causing trouble under false pretenses. Elder Zhang, that's not how it is. Gu Yunzhang said he ordered He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu to kill them. Seeing that Zhang Kong was about to convict Hai Fen, the disciples of the 77th Academy panicked, and Zhao Lefu couldn't help but mention Gu Yunzhang. Wu Yuikong's expression changed drastically, and he shouted anxiously, "Shut up! What nonsense are you spouting?" But Zhao Yuefu had already said it. What good would it do for Wu Yuikong to stop it? Hai Fen coldly rebuked him. "Wu Yuikong, what are you trying to hide? You dare to act so clever even in the punishment hall. What do you take the punishment hall for? Tell me what exactly happened. And who is Gu Yunzhang?" Wu Yuikong didn't know what to say. Li Yun stepped forward and said, "Reporting to the elder, Gu Yunzhang is also an outer disciple of the Ren 95 Academy, just like me. But I don't understand what this matter has to do with Gu Yunzhang. They're just pretending to be innocent." This scene made Wu Yuikong's eyes widen in horror. Unable to contain himself, he shouted, "Li Yun, you little brat, you still dare to act tough even now. Gu Yunzhang is He Tingfeng's cousin. It was because Gu Yunzhang was jealous of you that he secretly spent 1,000 taels of silver to hire He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu to teach you a lesson. but they disappeared after they made their move. You dare say their disappearance has nothing to do with you. You dare say you didn't kill them. With your strength, even He Tingfang and Su Yaowu combined wouldn't be enough to kill you with a single punch. They found you without knowing your strength, so they're definitely doomed. Don't even think about making excuses. Chapter 50, A Hopeless Future. Li Yun was both amused and exasperated. I initially thought Wu Yuikong was someone important, but now I realize he's just plain stupid. In a place like the torture chamber, can you just make things up without evidence? However, the play still had to be performed. Wu Yuikong, I'm truly impressed by you. How can you make something out of nothing sound so convincing? All right then, let's assume what you said is true. Let's assume I killed He Tingfang and Su Yaowu. Did you see it with your own eyes, or did someone else see it? If I had seen it with my own eyes, would you still be standing here so arrogantly? Wu Yuikong was getting a little exasperated. In his view, Li Yun was acting with impunity and deliberately mocking him. Elder Haifen's face darkened. Enough. Wu Yuikong. Since you didn't witness Li Yun killing anyone, how can you directly lead people to confront Li Yun? What you're doing is simply reckless. Lin Taishu, immediately take them all to the dungeon. I will investigate the situation and then determine their specific punishment. Zhao Yuifu and the others panicked upon hearing this. They had all been injured by Li Yun and had only barely recovered some of their abilities after treatment. They would need further treatment to fully recover. Once he's taken to the dungeon, wouldn't he miss the opportunity for further treatment? No, Elder. This has nothing to do with us. This was all instigated by Wu Yuikong. Yes, Elder, I want to report that Wu Yuikong is not avenging He Tingfang and Su Yaowu as he claims. He just thinks Li Yun killed them and wants to use this to blackmail Li Yun for money. That's right, Elder. Besides extorting money, Wu Yuikong also wanted to curry favor with his inner-sect senior brothers Liu Ningkong and Zhao Chuanfeng by dealing with Li Yun, because he heard that Li Yun had offended Liu Ningkong and Zhao Chuanfeng. This was absolutely devastating. Not only did Elder Haifen not expect this, but even Zhang Kong did not expect it. These disciples of the C-77 Academy actually betrayed Wu Yuikong at this crucial moment. Wu Yuikong was completely dumbfounded and glared at them angrily. Shut up! Who told you to talk nonsense? When did I say anything like that? You said it, so you said it. And you even forced Gu Yunzhang to write a letter home, demanding 3,000 taels of silver. Watching these people suddenly turn on each other like dogs. Haifen was furious. You scoundrels, instead of practicing martial arts properly, you're causing trouble behind the scenes. This is utterly outrageous. If I don't punish you severely today, you won't know what strict sect rules really mean. With that, Haifen was about to deliver a verdict. Wait a moment, Elder Haifen, please allow me to speak. Haifen turned to look at Li Yun, his expression somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected Li Yun to speak at this moment, so he said, Li Yun, the truth is clear. You are the victim in this matter. You can go back now. No, Elder, the truth is not yet clear. What do you mean? Elder, they say I killed He Tingfang and Su Yaowu, and they are using that as an excuse to cause me trouble. If you punish them now, they will probably be dissatisfied. Moreover, I clearly do not know He Tingfang and Su Yaowu, and I have never even seen them. I have no reason to take the blame for this. You know, public opinion can destroy even the most innocent. If such rumors are spread, and repeated again and again, eventually some people will conclude that He Tingfang and Su Yaowu's disappearance is related to their disciples. Haifen's eyes flickered slightly. And what's your opinion? Li Yun said, in my opinion, it would be best to clarify this matter. As he spoke, Li Yun then looked at Wu Yuikong and asked, Wu Yuikong, I have a question for you. On what day did He Tingfang and Su Yaowu disappear? Wu Yuikong snorted coldly, glaring at Li Yun with hatred. Why are you still asking this now? Don't worry about what I do. There's nothing I can't say. You're convinced I killed He Tingfeng and the others, but you have no evidence. You need a convincing reason, right? Li Yun said calmly. Wu Yuikong snorted coldly, but did not answer. However, Zhao Yuifu spoke up. I know he and Su disappeared about 7 or 8 days ago. Don't say maybe. Be more specific. Which day exactly? 8 days ago. Okay, if it was 8 days ago, then I'm sorry I wasn't at the sect that day. As he spoke, Li Yun looked towards the sea cemetery. Elder Hai, you can have the punishment hall inspectors investigate. 8 days ago, I left the sect with senior sister Zhang Ryuhan of the Vermilion Bird Academy. As for where we went, I cannot say. In addition, 8 days ago my cultivation level had only reached the 3rd level of body tempering. Senior sister Zhang and Elder Zhang Kong can testify to this. It was also on that day that I learned a few martial arts techniques from Elder Zhang Kong, Elder Huang Huizong, and Elder Li Sixing. Given my abilities at the time, it would be unrealistic to say that I could have killed 2 senior disciples of the C-77 Academy, would it? Zhang Kong also stepped forward and said, That's right. We had just taught Li Yun martial arts at Cang Yun residence that noon. With his cultivation level at the time, it was absolutely impossible for him to kill 2 senior disciples at the 9th level of body tempering. He couldn't even have done it by sneak attack. They lack the ability and have an alibi. This is well-reasoned and supported by evidence. Hai Fen nodded in agreement. If that's the case, then the disappearance of He Tingfeng and Su Yaowu really has nothing to do with you. Wu Yuikong, all of you listen up. This incident was caused by you, and you bear all the responsibility. You violated the sect rules and slandered outer disciples. You must all accept the punishment of the punishment hall. Furthermore, regarding the disappearance of He and Su, since it has nothing to do with Li Yun, you must not slander Li Yun again. Otherwise, after this judgment, the criminal court will continue to hold you accountable and impose a second judgment. Lin Taishu, throw them all into prison. Starting today, they will be detained for 3 months without visitation. Wu Yuikong and the others immediately turned pale. They are disciples in their 3rd year of study, the final and crucial year. If one cannot reverse one's innate nature through acquired means, one cannot advance to the inner sect. Unfortunately, he is already seriously injured and has been sentenced to 3 months in prison. How many things will be delayed when he gets out in 3 months? At that point, let alone revering one's innate abilities through acquired means, one might not even have the chance to compete in the outer sect competition and strive for a top 1000 ranking to earn a 2-year term as an outer sect steward. This means that their future in the Tianwu sect has been almost completely ruined overnight. Wu Yuikong was filled with hatred, wishing he could devour Li Yun alive. However, Li Yun didn't even look at him. He smiled slightly, politely bid farewell to Heifen, and left with Zhang Kong. Chapter 51, The Sword of Zhenyu Mountain, The Wind Chime. After leaving the outer courtroom, Li Yun did not return to the Ren 95 courtyard. Instead, he went to Cang Yun residence with Zhang Kong. Good lad, your cultivation has improved a bit too much. To be able to take on 7 opponents at once, defeating 6 senior disciples with the C in their names, and almost all of them were seriously injured, is truly impressive. Uncle Zhang, you flatter me. I'm so sorry to trouble you so late at night, making you come all the way to the punishment hall. What's the big deal? You've already called me uncle. Why are you being so polite with me? Those kids are really scoundrels, especially that Gu Yunzhang. All this mess started because of him, right? Humph, don't worry, I'll make sure he packs his bags and gets out of here tomorrow. He is not strong enough, and he is jealous. He secretly plots and schemes. Such a treacherous and cunning person is not qualified to be a disciple of Tianwu sect. He will only be a disaster if left alive. Li Yun smiled slightly. Since Zhang Kong said so, Gu Yunzhang was definitely doomed. Li Yun had no intention of pleading for him. He dared to have someone secretly deal with him. If he hadn't been waiting for an opportunity, he would have definitely given him some body-dissolving powder. All right, you can rest at Cang Yunju residence tonight to avoid any further trouble. Yes, thank you, Uncle Zhang. Early the next morning. After having breakfast, Zhang Kong took Li Yun directly to the outer sect elders' hall. Li Yun didn't know exactly how many outer sect elders Tianwu sect had, but his first visit to the elder hall, an institution specifically for outer sect elders to hold meetings, was quite a shock. This Presbyterian church stands alone on a mountain peak. It is a massive building that occupies an area of 30,000 square meters. It could practically be described as a grand estate. The main building, built against the mountainside, is over 20 meters high and looks very imposing. Above the main gate hangs a plaque with the 5 large characters, Outer Gate Elders Hall, written in a vigorous and elegant style, embodying the true meaning of martial arts. Li Yun stared at the plaque for a few moments, and then system notifications kept popping up. The cognitive gains are as high as 500 per second, which is really impressive. However, following Zhang Kong, he didn't have a chance to linger in front of the main gate. But after stepping through the main gate, Li Yun still felt quite surprised. There were still many buildings and things that contained the true meaning of martial arts. Observing these things, one can gain anywhere from 20 or 30 points per second to 300 or 400 points per second. Entering through the main gate and walking for about 10 minutes to the front courtyard of the Elder Hall's main building, my martial arts knowledge points increased by a full 100,000 points, averaging 10,000 per minute. Adding to the 600,000 I already had when I returned from the valley, plus the nearly 100,000 points gained from last night's battle with Wu Yuikong and the others. The total number of cognitive points on the panel has reached 800,000, quietly approaching the million mark again. That feels very comfortable. Having a solid foundation of knowledge is undoubtedly Li Yun's greatest source of confidence. And at this moment, in the courtyard in front of the Elders' Hall, in addition to the staff who were already on duty there, a number of people had gradually arrived. Huang Huizong and Li Sixing, whom Li Yun knew, also came. Upon seeing Li Yun, he took the initiative to walk over. Greetings, Elder Huang, Elder Li. No need for formalities, but you're the star of the day, so make the most of it. Yes. Huang Huizong patted Li Yun on the shoulder, and then followed Li Sixing into the Elder's Hall. Zhang Kong said, I'll go in first too. You wait here and don't wander off. Okay. Then, Zhang Kong also went inside. Li Yun followed Zhang Kong's instructions and did not wander off, but his eyes still quickly scanned the surrounding environment, seemingly out of curiosity about it. In reality, he was looking for suitable subjects to observe and take the opportunity to gain some insights. Soon, his gaze settled on the beam at the front of the hall, where not only was there a plaque inscribed with martial arts soaring through the sky, but also an ancient sword without a scabbard. These two things actually triggered a system response at the same time. The plaque with the inscription, Martial Arts Soaring Through the Sky, contains the astonishing truth of martial arts, granting Li Yun a full 500 knowledge points per second. Ancient Sword is slightly inferior, only gaining 200 cognition points per second. Interestingly, once the Ancient Sword was observed, a new martial art appeared in the martial arts section of the system panel, named Zhenyu Mountain Sword, although it was still loading. However, the loading speed was significantly faster than when loading the unnamed Sorrowful Wind sword technique in the valley. Li Yun secretly estimated that as long as he had an hour, it would be fully loaded. Therefore, Li Yun did not hesitate to choose to observe the ancient sword. The Martial Arts Soaring Through the Sky plaque may bring more recognition points, but it's just that, recognition points. If you're determined, you can get this anywhere. In comparison, martial arts are far more precious. Just after Li Yun began to observe the ancient sword, several more outer sect elders entered the front courtyard. However, Li Yun did not recognize them and did not bother to greet them. After all, there are all kinds of people. Even if you are polite, others may not necessarily take it as politeness. They may think you are trying too hard to please them, which is not a good thing. When these outer sect elders arrived, they merely glanced at Li Yun with curiosity before heading straight into the front hall. About 20 minutes later, an old woman with a full head of silver hair arrived with a young woman who was barefoot and had a red rope tied to each ankle with a bell. The clanging and banging sounds finally caught Li Yun's attention again. The young woman also saw Li Yun and actually walked towards him. "Hey, are you here to compete for the top disciple position too? Are you Li Yun from the 95th Academy, Chu Xingyu from the 1st Academy, or Zhao Ziohen from the 35th Academy?" The old woman was none other than Gu Hongyun, an outer sect elder. When she saw Fingeling approaching Li Yun, her face darkened and she called out from afar, "Fingeling, what are you doing? Come back right now." Fingeling turned around and stuck her tongue out at Gu Hongyun. Then she said to Li Yun, "Remember this, I am Fingeling from Institute 66, and I am definitely the chief of the Ren character group." Then he hurriedly ran back. The bells at his feet jingled again as he trotted along. Li Yun's expression turned strange for a while. He discovered that the pair of bells at the base of the wind chime could also trigger a system response, generating 10 cognitive points per second. However, Li Yun doesn't take 10 cognitive points per second seriously now. Besides, it was on a girl's feet. You can't expect him to stare at a girl's feet all the time, or he'll be seen as a pervert. He muttered to himself, "Why hang a bell on a pet?" and then turned his gaze back to his ancient sword. By this time, the Zhenyu Mountain sword had reached 35% completion. He had to race against time and get the sword technique loaded as soon as possible. Chapter 52, good heavens, the sea grave is trying to kidnap someone. "What are you yelling about, you little brat? This is the Elder's Hall. No wandering around. Stay here and behave yourself, do you hear me?" Gu Hongyun muttered a rebuke to Fang Ling in a low voice, then glanced at Li Yun, seemingly wondering who had brought Li Yun, before walking into the front hall. After that, the outer sect elders arrived one after another. 10 minutes later, Li Yun actually saw the sea tomb. Logically speaking, although Hafen is also an outer sect member, he is an elder of the punishment hall, and the matters here have little to do with Hafen. He couldn't understand why the sea grave had come. However, because of what happened last night, Li Yun thought about it and decided to pause his observation and take the initiative to go over and greet the sea tomb. To his surprise, Hafen's attitude was actually very friendly. "Li Yun, we meet again. I heard that the outer sect is selecting the chief disciple with the character Ren in their name today. I don't have to be on duty at the punishment hall today, so I came to take a look since I have nothing else to do. I suppose you are the best candidate for the top position." Li Yun quickly replied, "Elder Hai, you flatter me. The matter is not yet settled. How could I presume to say that it is none other than me? Hey, being humble is a good thing, but being overly humble is just arrogance. To be honest, I came here today because of you. If a genius like you can't become the chief, then who can?" The statement about the sea grave is far too absolute. So much so that Fingeling, who was listening nearby, couldn't help but pout and walked over with a jingling sound. "Elder, the selection of the chief of the Ren class hasn't officially started yet. How can you be so sure that it has to be Li Yun?" Forehead. Li Yun quickly smiled and said, "Miss Fingeling, Elder Hai was just joking with me. You don't have to take it seriously." After all, he was an elder of the punishment hall, and it seemed that he had a good impression of her. Li Yun naturally couldn't bear to see him being directly contradicted by a female disciple, as it would damage his dignity. However, he underestimated the strength of the sea burial mound. As the coldest elder in the punishment hall, Hai Fen is not used to being polite, nor is he used to saying things he doesn't mean. "I'm not joking. Li Yun, I came here today specifically for you. If a genius like you can't become the chief of the Ren class, then this selection is a joke, and you don't need to stay in the outer sect. I will discuss with the outer sect elders about transferring you to the punishment hall. Once you enter the punishment hall, you can still cultivate and advance to the inner sect, but you will receive greater attention and better resources. It's just that you'll have to spend some time enforcing the law, but I think it shouldn't have a big impact on you. Upon hearing this, Li Yun felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't stupid. He immediately understood that Hafen had come all this way to snatch someone away. How is he supposed to respond to that? If Zhang Kong were here right now, he would probably turn against Hai Fen on the spot. Thank you for your kind consideration, Elder Hai, but... You don't need to say anything more, I understand. Let nature take its course. With that, Hai Fen patted Li Yun on the shoulder and went into the front hall. The wind chimes, standing to the side, were completely dumbfounded. He stared at Li Yun with great curiosity, looking him up and down. You, aside from being a bit handsome, I don't see anything special about you. How come even the elders of the punishment hall are so fond of you? Li Yun turned to look at the wind chimes. He said in a serious tone, Actually, I don't quite understand either, just like I don't understand why you have a pair of bells tied to your feet. After saying that, Li Yun then turned and walked away to continue observing the ancient sword. The wind chime paused for a moment, wrinkled its nose, and hummed. This guy, I don't believe you're really that good. His gaze shifted, and he suddenly noticed something else. Following Li Yun's gaze, he looked puzzled. Why is this guy staring at that place? It's just a plaque and an ancient sword. What's so interesting about it? She shook her head, but did not approach Li Yun again. We weren't familiar with each other after all. At the same time, several more outer sect elders arrived, accompanied by 3 young outer sect disciples, 2 men and 1 woman, all of whom possessed remarkable qualities and the demeanor of young talents. Needless to say, these 3 outer disciples are also here to compete for the top spot in the Ren category. The usually lively and cheerful Fingerling's eyes lit up, and she took the initiative to walk towards them. Faced with the lively, cheerful, beautiful, and shapely Feng Ling, the 2 men were very attentive. After the elder who brought them entered the front hall, they quickly started chatting together. Li Yun didn't join in the fun, mainly because he wasn't interested. His attention was focused on observing the ancient sword, and as time passed, the loading rate of Zhenyu Mountain Sword had reached 60%. But this doesn't prevent him from hearing their conversation. Through their conversation, Li Yun learned about the 3 new outer disciples: Su Jun from Academy 2, Mo Yuan from Academy 17, and Yang Ru from Academy 64. All 3 were appointed as the chief disciples of their respective martial arts academies by their respective martial arts stewards, and it can be said that they were all outstanding elites in their respective fields after entering the academy. Their words and actions clearly exuded a strong sense of confidence. Even though they all knew perfectly well that they were all rivals vying for the top spot in the Ren character category, they were all convinced that the top spot in the Ren character category belonged to them. This is really interesting. It seems the title of chief of the Ren character category is quite attractive, drawing so many people. I, Chu Xingyu, am a bit late. Suddenly, a rather amused voice, with a hint of arrogance, rang out. Chu Xingyu, the chief of the One Academy, had already followed his maternal grandfather Huang Yis into the front yard. He stood in the yard, his gaze sweeping over Feng Ling, Yang Ru, Su Jun, Mo Yuan, and others before finally landing on Li Yun. Huang Yis glanced at the group but didn't say much. He only instructed Chu Xingyu, "Wait here." They then walked towards the front hall. Chu Xingyu smiled slightly and said obediently, "I understand, Grandpa." He called him grandfather instead of elder. This was clearly intentional. Huang Yi's expression darkened slightly, but he didn't say anything more at this time, so he left first. However, this mention of grandfather made Yang Ru, Su-jun, and Mo Yuan, who were present, look rather unpleasant, and their gazes toward Chu Xingyu became somewhat inexplicably hostile. After all, they were the kind of people in the Tianwu sect who had no foundation or background. In terms of natural talent, they are all top-notch and fear no one. However, when it comes to background, they are powerless to help, especially when it comes to competing for the top position in the Ren category. They don't really believe that the Elders' Hall can truly be absolutely fair and impartial, regardless of background. Chu Xingyu's maternal grandfather was an outer sect elder, which was clearly an advantage. The fact that the other party deliberately flaunted this advantage is clearly an attempt to suppress them. Chapter 53, Chu Xingyu's wishful thinking, and Zhao Ziohan's domineering aura. Hello everyone, I am Chu Xingyu, the chief of the One Institute. May I ask your names? Chu Xingyu walked towards Feng Ling and the others, adopting a calm and composed demeanor. However, there was no response. Su Jun and Mo Yuan simply turned their heads away, pretending not to see Chu Xingyu. Only Feng Ling, who was always optimistic and cheerful, and seemed to have no ulterior motives, looked at Chu Xingyu with a smile and a hint of curiosity. So you're Chu Xingyu. I heard that your basic stance training progressed extremely quickly after you started practicing, and you've already reached the minor success level in just 1 month, and even achieved the 3rd level of body tempering. Is that true? Hearing the wind chimes, Su Jun, Mo Yuan, and Yang Ru all changed their expressions. It should be noted that the Tianwu sect has an unwritten rule when recruiting new outer disciples. They do not accept those who already possess martial arts skills. Therefore, even those with connections and the advantage of early cultivation will not cultivate in advance if they want to join the Tianwu sect. All the newcomers who entered the Tianwu sect at the same time were definitely starting from the same point. Everyone starts from scratch, so why was Chu Xingyu able to quickly master the basics of stance training in just over a month, and even achieve the 3rd level of body tempering? Isn't this advantage a bit too great? Chu Xingyu was slightly taken aback, but readily admitted, I didn't expect Miss Fingling to be so well-informed. Indeed, as you said, I have reached the 3rd level of body tempering, and my stance training has also achieved minor success. Within 6 months, I expect to reach the 9th level of body tempering, and, through my stance training, successfully enter the power refinement realm. With my abilities, becoming the chief of the Ren class is not a disgrace to this title. What do you all think? Su Jun and Mo Yuan's faces turned ugly. Although both of them possessed exceptional talent, being top-tier first-grade individuals, and with their respective martial arts instructors providing private tutoring, they had only mastered basic stance training in over a month. Still quite a distance from achieving minor mastery. In terms of cultivation, he has only barely reached the 2nd level of body tempering. Faced with Chu Xingyu's superior skills, she really couldn't find the confidence to refute him. Yang Ru smiled wryly and said, if young Master Chu has truly reached this level, then the title of chief of the Ren division will probably have nothing to do with us. In that case, we should congratulate young Master Chu. My name is Yang Ru, and I come from the 64th Hospital. I hope you will take good care of me in the future, young Master Chu. Upon hearing this, Chu Xingyu's face immediately revealed a smug and satisfied smile. Haha, no problem. Miss Yang must be exceptionally talented to be here. Even if she doesn't become the top disciple of the Ren class this time, her promotion to the inner sect should be a sure thing in the future. And you all are the same. So, I have a suggestion, and I wonder if you would like to hear it. Su Jun looked at Chu Xingyu suspiciously. What suggestion? It is said that meeting is fate. We are fortunate to be competitors of the chief of the Ren class. It is a kind of fate. We are both exceptionally talented people, and we are fundamentally different from those ordinary outer disciples. Many of them only endure 3 years of hardship before having to establish their own sect. The slightly luckier ones can stay for 2 more years to become deacons, but most still have to leave after their deacon career is over. And we, almost all of us, are about to step into the inner sect. So, why don't we form an alliance now to meet future challenges and give us a better foothold in the inner sect? What do you think? Good heavens. Although Li Yun remained silent, he was already inwardly praising Chu Xingyu's cunning. This guy actually wants to take this opportunity to recruit these top talented outer disciples under his command. His ambition is not small, it's enormous. Su Jun and the others were quite interested in hearing this. Because they had no connections, they realized how difficult it would be to gain a foothold in the heavenly martial sect after only a little over a month of joining. Chu Xingyu's suggestion was somewhat ill-intentioned. However, it must be admitted that for those without a background, it is indeed an option worth considering. However, they were all there to compete for the top spot in the Ren category, and they were all somewhat arrogant. Before things were settled, how could they possibly submit to Chu Xingyu just because of a few words? That would be too degrading. So even though she was tempted, no one responded. And at this moment, but then a young man came to the front yard, and as soon as he stepped into the area, he burst into laughter. Chu Xingyu, your wishful thinking is so blatant, I can hear it from 10 miles away. You're shameless and arrogant. We're all here to compete for the top spot in the Ren category. Why should we be subordinate to you and form some so-called alliance with you? Chu Xingyu's expression changed upon hearing the voice. He turned around abruptly and glared angrily at the person who had entered. Zhao Ziohen, you dare to undermine me. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? The visitor was Zhao Ziohen, the chief of the Ren 35th Academy. He was burly and young, but already had a full beard, making him look rather prematurely aged, yet he also appeared somewhat mature for his age. The fact that he was holding a broadsword in his hand was particularly eye-catching. He shoved the broadsword, which looked quite heavy, into the ground, scabbard and all, and said disdainfully, "Don't you know whether you're afraid of me or not?" You. Chu Xingyu's face twitched with anger, but a deep sense of apprehension appeared in his eyes. If you were to ask who he feared most in this courtyard, it would undoubtedly be Zhao Ziohen. No one knew that 3 days ago, he accidentally encountered Zhao Ziohen, who was cultivating alone, and went up to tease him a bit, which resulted in a conflict between the two. After a brief exchange, he was nearly injured by the broadsword in Zhao Ziohen's hand. He then realized that Zhao Ziohen, the chief of the 35th Academy, was definitely his strongest rival and the biggest threat in his competition for the chief of the Ren class. That is why. Last night, my maternal grandfather, Huang Yi, said that the chief candidate for the Ren character position would be decided today. This surprised and worried him, as he was afraid of Zhao Ziohen. Fortunately, Zhao Ziohen was said to have made no progress in the stance training that the Tianwu sect valued, most due to his physical condition. Therefore, he was granted special permission by the Elders' Hall to choose other body tempering techniques. Therefore, this became a major weakness for Zhao Ziohen in the competition for the top spot. This finally gave Chu Xingyu some hope. However, Zhao Ziohen actually humiliated him in front of others, which is absolutely unforgivable. Chu Xingyu harbored deep resentment. Zhao Ziohen, don't be arrogant. You can't even master the basic stance training. You're destined not to be the chief of the Ren class. Even if you came today, it's a wasted trip. Zhao Ziohen chuckled, looking quite disdainful. Say what you will. If someone else becomes the chief today, that's fine, but if you become the chief, I will definitely challenge you in front of all the elders. Don't back down then. As he spoke, he walked straight toward Li Yun. He glanced at Li Yun, then at the ancient sword on the beam in the front hall, his expression suspicious. Hey bro, you can't be able to sense the sword intent of the Zhenyu mountain sword either, can you? Chapter 54, the ancient sword has been hanging for 100 years. It turns out to be the sword of the Zhao family's ancestor. Li Yun turned to look at Zhao Ziohen. I noticed that this guy's expression, though seemingly playful, actually revealed a hint of seriousness, clearly indicating that he valued the Zhenyu mountain sword very much. Most importantly, this guy actually knew about the Zhenyu mountain sword, which clearly piqued Li Yun's interest. Li Yun glanced silently at the system panel. Zhenyu mountain sword loading, 97%. It's almost fully loaded, and then we can add some improvements. It'll only take a few minutes. It'll be over quickly. He then asked in a relaxed tone, "How do you know about the Zhenyu mountain sword?" The meaning of this statement is self-evident. Zhao Ziohen's pupils suddenly contracted sharply. Unbelievable! My ancestor was once the Grand Elder of the outer sect of the Heavenly Martial sect. The Zhenyu mountain sword was his personal sword. Before he passed away, he passed on a secret technique, which gave the Zhao family disciples the opportunity to comprehend the unique skill created by our ancestor from the Zhenyu mountain sword. You are not a member of my Zhao family, and you don't even have a sword, yet you can sense the sword intent of the Zhenyu mountain sword. Do you perhaps have some special talent? Li Yun was shocked, only then realizing that the ancient sword on the crossbeam was actually the sword of Zhao Ziohen's ancestor, and the hidden martial art, Zhenyu mountain sword, was created by his ancestor. Does his mastery of the Zhenyu mountain sword count as stealing knowledge? However, in just a flash, he knew that this definitely couldn't be considered stealing. The Zhenyu mountain sword contains sword intent and unique skills, but it was not kept in Zhao Ziohen's family. Instead, it was openly hung on the beam in front of the Elder Hall, which means that it was meant to be left for someone with a special destiny. Anyone who has the opportunity to come to the Elder's Hall should be able to comprehend this. The question is whether they can truly comprehend it. Therefore, Li Yun did not hide it. I don't know either. Maybe I'm just naturally more perceptive. As soon as I arrived here, I sensed the extraordinary nature of that ancient sword. You. Zhao Ziohen was at a loss for words. He wanted to say that Li Yun had gotten a great deal, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. Back then, Zhao Shanyu, the ancestor of the Zhao family, accidentally obtained an ancient sword and created the Zhenyu mountain sword with his extraordinary talent. He became the strongest among the outer sect elders at that time, and thus became the Grand Elder of the outer sect, in charge of the Elder Hall, which brought endless glory to the Zhao family. But this also made some of the Zhao family's descendants a bit arrogant. Relying on Zhao Shanyu's power, they acted recklessly. Many of the Zhao family members who joined the Tianwu sect secretly bullied their fellow disciples and even committed acts of assault against female disciples. This enraged the executioner's office. This triggered a punishment specifically targeting members of the Zhao family, causing Zhao Shanyu, the Grand Elder of the outer sect, to lose all face. Overwhelmed with remorse, he had no choice but to resign, leaving the Tianwu sect with regrets as he approached 80 years of age. Ultimately, due to guilt, he died of depression less than 3 years after returning home. On his deathbed, Zhao Shanyu specially sealed his own creation, the Zhenyu mountain sword, into an ancient sword in the form of sword intent, and had it sent to the Elder Hall as a final gift to settle the karma caused by the Zhao family members in the Tianwu sect. Therefore, although the Zhenyu mountain sword was created by Zhao Shanyu, it does not belong to the Zhao family. This is a regret for the younger generation of the Zhao family, but those who know the inside story are helpless to change it. But without a doubt, since Zhao Shanyu's death, every descendant of the Zhao family with backbone has dreamed of learning the Zhenyu mountain sword, so that this unique skill, which originally belonged to the Zhao family, could shine brightly once again through the hands of the Zhao family. Unfortunately, over the years, no one has been able to succeed. Until Zhao Ziohen appeared, who was born with a unique physique called the mountain sword body. He was a natural talent for sword cultivation and had an extraordinary affinity with the Zhenyu mountain sword. Therefore, after joining the Tianwu sect, he had a goal: to comprehend the Zhenyu mountain sword and bring the Zhao family's unique skill back to life. He also believed that no one but him could bring this unique skill back to life. It was truly unexpected that an outer disciple would suddenly appear and be able to sense the hidden sword intent of the Zhenyu mountain sword. To be honest, this made Zhao Ziohen feel a little threatened. You must know that the ancient sword has a spirit. Once someone truly masters the Zhenyu mountain sword, it could trigger the ancient sword to choose its master. At that point, even the Elders' Hall would have no right to interfere and could only allow someone to take the ancient sword away. If Li Yun takes the ancient sword before him, it will be an extremely painful blow to both the Zhao family and to him. But he couldn't stop Li Yun. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. Back then, Zhao Shanyu sent the ancient sword to Tianwu sect before his death to atone for his sins, which was a disgrace to the Zhao family. Many years have passed. If Zhao Ziohen wants to take back the ancient sword, he must do so openly and honestly. Even if they retrieve the ancient sword, it will not bring any glory to the Zhao family. On the contrary, it will plunge the Zhao family into an even more shameful situation. This is definitely not what Zhao Ziohen wanted. He took a deep breath. He said solemnly, "Very good, then I wish you can truly comprehend the Zhenyu mountain sword." "Oh dear, Li Yun, you've been standing here staring at the ancient sword ever since I arrived. I thought you were a little out of your mind, but I never expected you to be trying to comprehend the Tao of the sword. Isn't that a bit too much?" Suddenly, the wind chimes rushed over, their tinkling sounds leaving Li Yun speechless once again. "You're the one who's not normal. If I were you, I'd take the bells off my feet and find a new pair of shoes to wear, so I don't rub my feet into thick iron plates. What do you know? My mother said that wearing bells barefoot is a custom of our Feng tribe, representing joy and freedom. No one but my future husband can make me take the bells off, not even my father." Li Yun. When Su Jun, Mo Yuan, and Yang Ru saw Feng Ling running over, they exchanged a glance and followed her. The three of them looked up at the ancient sword, but their faces were full of confusion. "Gentlemen, is there anything mysterious about this ancient sword? Why can't I sense anything about it?" Su Jun asked curiously. Li Yun didn't respond, but instead looked up and examined the ancient sword. The loading progress on the panel silently increased by 1 level, reaching 98%, just 2% away. He didn't intend to waste any more time talking to people and decided to get his hands on the Zhenyu mountain sword first. Zhao Ziohen's expression darkened slightly. This ancient sword has been hanging here for 100 years. Many disciples from past generations have come to the Elder Hall, but none of them have been able to sense the sword intent hidden within it. If you can't sense it, you should give up on this idea as soon as possible. Su Jun was immediately stunned. The ancient sword has been hanging for 100 years, possessing sword intent, yet no one can sense it. One can imagine how difficult this is. But unexpectedly, Chu Xingyu walked over, seemingly deliberately trying to antagonize Zhao Ziohen. "What's so great about it? It's just comprehending sword intent. You make it sound like only you, Zhao Ziohen, can do it. Chapter 55, I almost fell for your trick. If you can do it, then you do it." Zhao Ziohen would never tolerate Chu Xingyu. From the first day he met Chu Xingyu, this guy had always acted arrogantly, thinking he was the best in the world. In his eyes, Chu Xingyu was just an idiot. "I'll do it, fine. Get out of the way." Chu Xingyu wasn't afraid. He had done it on purpose anyway. Moreover, he didn't believe that martial arts could belong exclusively to anyone. Even if it did, with his first-grade aptitude, and having consumed the enlightenment fruit that his father had bought for him at a high price, he was determined to seize this martial art. Not for any other reason than to spite Zhao Ziohen. Without saying a word, Zhao Ziohen stepped aside, allowing Chu Xingyu to observe the ancient sword more closely and directly. "Just you wait and see. A sword should be elegant. Its true essence cannot be understood by a crude person like you who thinks he's something just because he has a broadsword." Chu Xingyu stood at attention, displaying an air of unwavering resolve. He gave Zhao Ziohen a disdainful look. Then the observation began. Zhao Ziohen didn't retort, but just sneered. The more this idiot jumped around now, the more embarrassed he would be later. He couldn't wait for this idiot to jump around even more. 5 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Chu Xingyu suddenly felt that something was wrong. The ancient sword was clearly hanging on the beam in the front hall, without any concealment, and anyone could see and observe it, but why couldn't he sense any sword intent? It was as if the sword was just a sword, exactly the same as a large, ordinary block of iron, with no discernible difference. Heth, you're such an idiot, aren't you? Didn't you say you could do it? What did you experience? Tell everyone. Just then, Zhao Ziohen spoke up. Chu Xingyu, who was feeling confused, suddenly stiffened and snorted coldly. What's the rush? This ancient sword has been hanging here for so many years. Do you think you can comprehend its sword intent in a short time? Upon hearing this, Zhao Ziohen burst into laughter. I told you you're an idiot, but you won't admit it and you're still being stubborn. It's absolutely hilarious. Chu Xingyu's face was extremely ugly, and he angrily rebuked. Laugh. What right do you have to laugh here? You're just trying to influence my understanding in this way. Do you think I don't know that? Haha, okay, then I won't say anything, do as you please. Zhao Ziohen laughed and then stepped back, no longer paying attention to Chu Xingyu. Because only he knows that the ancient sword seals the sword intent. Those who can sense it at first glance, and those who cannot sense it will stand here for 3 months without any effect. There is no way that you can comprehend the sword intent by observing for a while, or learn the Zhenyu mountain sword out of thin air. Chu Xingyu made boastful claims without understanding the actual situation, which is destined to make him lose face. Paying attention to him is simply a waste of time. What truly put Zhao Ziohen under pressure was Li Yun. Because he felt that Li Yun was truly able to comprehend the sword intent, otherwise he would never have uttered the 4 words, Zhenyu mountain sword, nor would he have stood here observing the ancient sword since he arrived. A full bucket may shake slightly. Li Yun could sense the sword intent, but he didn't make a fuss or show off. He silently stayed here to observe the ancient sword. Heaven knows how much he actually comprehended. If this guy were to master the Zhenyu mountain sword without a word, it would be a real disaster. Meanwhile, Chu Xingyu, who still couldn't sense any sword intent, also stole a couple of glances at Li Yun. I was puzzled for a long time. What kind of broken ancient sword is this? It looks no different from an ordinary lump of iron. It might just be a decoration hanging in the front hall of the Elders' Hall. Why is Li Yun looking at it so seriously? Could it be that Li Yun can really comprehend sword intent? How is that possible? Even Chu Xingyu couldn't comprehend the sword intent, so how could Li Yun? Chu Xingyu was somewhat unconvinced and couldn't help but take 2 steps to the side towards Li Yun, asking rather rudely, Li Yun, you can really sense sword intent. How did you do that? Li Yun frowned immediately. Could this guy really be an idiot? Are we that close? Who asks that? Whether I can comprehend the essence of swordsmanship or not, do I need to tell you? Who do you think you are? Li Yun simply chose to ignore it and looked at the panel on his own. At this time, the Zhenyu mountain sword has been successfully loaded, and the beginner indicator has appeared, meaning you can now add points to improve it. After more than an hour of observation, my understanding has increased again. At 200 per second, the total increase was approximately 750,000. Adding to the original 800,000, the total has once again exceeded 1 million, reaching 1.55 million. So, without hesitation, Li Yun chose to improve, intending to first bring the Zhenyu mountain sword to the beginner level, and then make further choices based on the situation. After all, cultivation should be the priority in the future. After confirming the chief of the Ren class, he still needs to hurry to the armory to select a cultivation technique and enter the realm of internal strength as soon as possible. Only with the support of internal strength can he be considered a true martial artist. In this current state of relying on external physical force, it's still somewhat of a minor skirmish. When Chu Xingyu saw that Li Yun frowned at him and then ignored him, he immediately felt slighted, and a surge of anger rose in his heart. What the hell are you pretending for? What's so great about it? If you can do it, so can I. Chu Xingyu was about to try to understand it himself again, when he caught a glimpse of a cold smile playing on Zhao Ziohen's lips out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly, my heart skipped a beat. He suddenly realized a possibility. Could he have been tricked? Could it be that the ancient sword is actually just a decoration in the Elder Hall, used for decoration, and doesn't actually contain any sword intent or Zhenyu mountain sword? Zhao Ziohen and Li Yun's previous coordinated attack was actually intentional. They had agreed beforehand to lure them into a trap so they could strike back at them. The more Chu Xingyu thought about it, the more likely this possibility seemed. After all, how could an ancient sword that has sealed away sword intent have remained undiscovered in the Elder's Hall for 100 years without anyone figuring it out? If such a thing really happened, Grandpa Huang Yis would definitely tell him. In reality, his maternal grandfather, Huang Yis, who was an outer sect elder, never mentioned a single word about the ancient sword to him from beginning to end. Others might try to cheat him, but his maternal grandfather, Huang Yis, would never do so. Thinking of this, Chu Xingyu decisively gave up observing. Then he suddenly turned around and shouted loudly at Zhao Ziohen and Li Yun. "Give me back Zhao Ziohen, and what a fine Li Yun. I was caught off guard and almost fell for your trick." Zhao Ziohen's expression froze, his face filled with confusion and bewilderment. "Were you fooled? What kind of scam have you fallen for?" For a moment, he was even a little taken aback, not knowing why Chu Xingyu had said that. Chapter 56, The Ancient Sword Chooses Its Master. "You've been tricked. What are you talking about? I don't understand." Zhao Ziohen asked, puzzled. Still pretending to be stupid. Chu Xingyu sneered. "There is no sword intent at all, nor is there any Zhenyu mountain sword. All of this was actually arranged between you and Li Yun in private. You were just putting on an act. You want to lure us and attack us in this way. Let me tell you, you're dreaming." Zhao Ziohen couldn't help but burst out laughing on the spot. "Seriously, damn it. Chu Xingyu, I'm truly impressed. If you can't comprehend the sword intent, just honestly admit you're not good enough, and then who will laugh at you? The ancient sword has been hanging here for 100 years, and very few people have been able to comprehend its sword intent. But you actually turned around and slandered me and Li Yun for the sake of saving face. Tusk, to be honest, your brain is really not suitable for cultivating martial arts. You should study literature. With your shamelessness and your cunning, you might actually become a village chief in the future." "Pa, Zhao Ziohen, you are utterly shameless. I've already seen through your lies, yet you still won't admit it. I think you're the one who's truly shameless." Brother Zhao, could I borrow your broadsword for a moment?" Before Chu Xingyu could finish speaking, Li Yun suddenly turned his head and looked at the broadsword in Zhao Ziohen's hand, his face full of eager anticipation. Zhao Ziohen's expression froze instantly, and a bad premonition suddenly arose in his heart. Could it be that Li Yun has truly mastered the Zhenyu mountain sword? Otherwise, why would he suddenly borrow the sword? Seeing that his words had been interrupted, Chu Xingyu glared fiercely at Li Yun. "HMPH, Li Yun, are you still pretending? Are you going to pretend you've already mastered the Zhenyu mountain sword, then borrow Zhao Ziohen's sword and show off some sword techniques that no one else has ever seen before to intimidate us? I think you should save your breath. Don't treat everyone like fools. You're not qualified to intimidate us." Li Yun seemed not to hear Chu Xingyu's words, remaining unmoved, only looking at the broadsword in Zhao Ziohen's hand, waiting for Zhao Ziohen's reply. Zhao Ziohen felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't want to believe it, but he had to admit that Li Yun might have already mastered the Zhenyu mountain sword. Since Li Yun didn't have a sword on him, he thought of borrowing his to test it out. To be honest, he didn't really want to lend it, but he had no choice but to. Because he was really curious whether Li Yun had truly comprehended the Zhenyu mountain sword, and if so, how much of it had he mastered? He gritted his teeth and stomped his foot. He simply threw the broadsword in his hand at Li Yun. Seeing this, Chu Xingyu had a "I guessed right" look on his face again and sneered, "See, I told you so. They're just putting on an act. Next, this Li Yun is going to use Zhao Ziohen's sword to mess around with a set of sword techniques." Then Zhao Ziohen, not to be outdone, should also take back the broadsword and demonstrate a sword technique to prove that everyone here, except for the two of them, is a fool and no one can compare to them. These words were clearly directed at Su Jun, Mo Yuan, and Feng Ling. The three of them seemed to believe Chu Xingyu's judgment, and their expressions were somewhat strange. Li Yun drew his sword, a sharp glint suddenly flashing in his eyes. He abruptly turned his head and said, "Chu Xingyu, I've put up with you for too long. If you keep babbling, believe me, I'll knock out your front teeth. You hit me with your abilities." Chu Xingyu looked disdainful, clearly not taking Li Yun seriously at all. Li Yun chuckled. Without saying a word, he had already made up his mind to challenge Chu Xingyu in front of all the elders later. The Heavenly Martial Sect has strict rules. Taking action in private is against the rules, but a fair and square challenge is not. If you knock out Chu Xingyu's front teeth in a fair and square challenge, no one can say anything. Turning around, Li Yun drew his broadsword. With a whoosh, the sword rang out. The broadsword danced in Li Yun's hands, one strike diagonally through the air, another cleaving horizontally, and yet another cleaving a mountain. Each strike was slow, and there was not even a hint of agility in them. But in Zhao Ziohen's view, each of these sword strikes carried an inexplicable, mountain-like force. His broadsword weighed 47 pounds, which was already heavier than a regular longsword and suitable for heavy swords. But at this moment, when Li Yun wielded it, it seemed to be 10 times heavier, as if it had become several hundred pounds. Each sword strike has a strong sense of oppression, making it suffocating. Before he knew it, Zhao Ziohen's expression had become serious, and he was so nervous that he even subconsciously held his breath. He knew that Li Yun had truly mastered the Zhenyu mountain sword, even faster than him. This is really troublesome. At this rate, if Li Yun really manages to complete the entire Zhenyu mountain sword set, it is highly likely that he will resonate with the ancient sword and take it away. What happened? What are you all doing gathered here? Li Yun. Just then, several elders suddenly walked out of the front hall, including Zhang Kong, Huang Yi, Huang Huizong, Li Sixing, and Gu Hongyan. The leader, dressed in a long black and yellow robe, exuded an imposing aura and was clearly stronger than the other outer sect elders. This person was none other than the current Grand Elder of the outer sect, who was also the head of the elders and held great power in the outer sect elders' hall, Gu Zioxian. This is the Zhenyu mountain sword. When Gu Zioxian first saw the broadsword wielded by Li Yun, his expression changed. He felt it was incredible and unbelievable. As the Grand Elder of the outer sect, how could he not know about the ancient sword hanging in the elder hall? To put it bluntly, when he was young, he also tried to gain enlightenment, but he failed and couldn't gain any enlightenment at all. The reason he was able to recognize it as the Zhenyu mountain sword was because Zhao Shanyu, the ancestor of the Zhao family, had made a copy of it after creating the Zhenyu mountain sword and handed it over to the armory for preservation. And he had seen this preserved document. As it turned out, he was simply not suited to cultivate this sword technique. The ancient sword had a mysterious origin and was full of spirituality. Only those who could truly comprehend the sword intent from the ancient sword could gain its recognition. This finally extinguished his desire to acquire the ancient sword. But what does he see now? These newbies, who have only been practicing for a little over a month, actually managed to comprehend the Zhenyu mountain sword from the ancient swords. Isn't that too exaggerated? However, Gu Zioxian did not know Li Yun. He didn't know who the swordsman was and immediately wanted to ask. A sudden tremor ran through the beam in the front hall. The ancient sword that had been hanging on the beam for 100 years suddenly emitted a sword cry and then shone brightly. Without any prompting, it flew up automatically from the beam, leaving a sword mark as heavy as a mountain in the air, and then fell straight down towards Li Yun, who was dancing with his sword. The ancient sword chooses its master. Gu Zioxian gasped in shock. The outer sect elders behind them exclaimed in unison, each one deeply shocked. Chapter 57, damn, what's the point of this competition? No one knows what it would be like if the world suddenly fell silent at some point. But the situation is estimated to be similar to the current one. The entire front courtyard of the Elders' Hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone present stared wide-eyed, dumbfounded and speechless. Everyone just stared blankly as the ancient sword fell into Li Yun's hands. Li Yun himself was stunned, because he had no idea that this ancient sword could still move, and that it would fly down from the beam and be given to him by itself. Having just grasped the basics of the Zhenyu mountain sword, he was immediately unable to continue wielding it. He held Zhao Ziohen's broadsword in one hand and the ancient sword in the other, looking at everyone blankly. What's going on? After circling around, his gaze returned to Zhao Ziohen, because he estimated that Zhao Ziohen would know what was going on. After all, this ancient sword was the sword of Zhao Ziohen's ancestor. At this moment, Zhao Ziohen was taking deep breaths, trying his best to suppress the turbulent emotions in his heart. Damn it, what I feared most has come to pass. The ancient sword that had hung motionless on the beam of the Elder Hall's front hall for 100 years finally resonated with someone, but the person who resonated with it was not him. What the hell does this feel like? It's like you've been pursuing a goddess for years, and just when she's about to be yours, she suddenly falls into someone else's arms, right in front of you. It's worse than having a knife stabbed into your heart. Ariza. Brother Zhao, what's going on? Why did the ancient sword fly down on its own? Li Yun, you bastard, how dare you ask me that? Zhao Ziohen was absolutely furious. Wasn't this a question he already knew the answer to? They're getting a good deal, and then acting innocent. Li Yun looked completely bewildered. No way, I really don't know what's going on. You. Zhao Ziohen glared at Li Yun with hatred. I don't know what's going on. Nobody would believe that. Without knowing the situation, how could he possibly come to this front yard and start observing and trying to comprehend the sword intent of the ancient sword? Who are you trying to fool? This is clearly a case of coming prepared. Fortunately, Zhang Kong realized what was happening at that moment. He stepped out and laughed. Li Yun, your luck is just too good. This ancient sword has been hanging here for 100 years, and no one has been able to resonate with it. I didn't expect that as soon as you came, it would resonate with you and even cause the ancient sword to choose its master. This means that this ancient sword will belong to you from now on. Zhang Kong's words immediately brought everyone present back to their senses. Su Jun, Mo Yuan, Feng Ling, and Chu Xingyu all stared at Li Yun, their eyes practically popping out of their sockets. Chu Xingyu, in particular, had bloodshot eyes. He was just questioning it, even asserting that the ancient sword had no hidden sword intent at all, and that it was all just a charade by Zhao Ziohen and Li Yun. As a result, Li Yun comprehended the sword intent, grasped the sword technique, and even triggered the ancient sword to choose its master, taking away this unusual-looking ancient sword. Isn't this a slap in the face for him? Chu Xingyu couldn't help but exclaim, impossible. This is clearly the Elder's Hall's sword. How could it be given to him? This might just be an accident. Maybe the wind blew the ancient sword down. Upon hearing this, everyone was stunned. Huang Yi was so embarrassed that he almost dug out a 3-bedroom apartment with his feet. He stormed out in a fit of rage. A slap landed directly on his forehead. "You insolent brat, you don't know anything, so shut up. I'm so angry I could vomit blood. What kind of brain do you have? The ancient sword chose its master. So many people have witnessed this. Who dares to say it was an accident or that it was blown away by the wind? Besides, even if the Elders' Hall really didn't want to acknowledge the ancient sword's choice of master, after you brat, said that, they wouldn't dare to say it anymore. This ancient sword really did belong to Li Yan." As expected, the first elder, Gu Zioxian, suddenly burst into laughter. Truly, heroes emerge from among the young. The ancient sword has hung there for 100 years, waiting for a successor who can resonate with it. Now that the ancient sword has a spirit and has chosen its own master, then this ancient sword is truly yours. The Grand Elder's words sealed the deal. No one can refute that. However, to everyone's surprise, Gu Zioxian continued to speak. To be able to comprehend sword intent, learn the Zhenyu mountain sword in such a short time, and trigger the ancient sword to choose its master is enough to show that your comprehension is extraordinary. You are truly a genius. I observed your sword dance just now, and every movement you made exuded extraordinary power. Your cultivation must have reached the 9th level of body tempering, right? Li Yan quickly replied. Reporting to the elder, this disciple has indeed reached the 9th level of body tempering. The 13th level of body tempering was ultimately Li Yan's own judgment, and he was too embarrassed to say it out loud in front of so many people. Even so, Chu Xingyu and the others were already horrified, their faces filled with disbelief. Especially Chu Xingyu. He was already smug, even though he was only at the 3rd level of body tempering. As it turns out, Li Yan was at the 9th level of body tempering, yet he remained unassuming. Compared to Li Yan, what was he? How embarrassing, so embarrassing. Impressive, to reach the 9th level of body tempering so quickly. Your basic stance training must have reached an extremely high level as well, right? Thankfully I've grasped the true meaning. Gu Zioxian's eyes lit up. How many kinds? Are there 3 kinds? 3 types. Li Yan's expression was strange. He was embarrassed to say that 3 kinds were nothing. He had comprehended all 12 kinds and even sublimated them. The basic stance training had become the primordial stance, and the 12 true meanings had merged into the primordial true meaning. A genius, truly a genius. The outer sect elders behind him were also speechless and shocked. Was this level really on par with the other newly entered disciples? An outer sect elder, whose name was unknown, couldn't help but exclaim, "Damn it, what's the point of this competition? What are we elders even discussing? If this guy doesn't become the top-ranking Ren, would any of us dare to even step out of the gate?" The words may be rough, but the principle is sound. None of the elders could refute it. If Li Yun's level isn't high enough to become the chief of the Ren class, wouldn't people start to suspect that the outer sect Elders' Hall is involved in some shady dealings? This situation absolutely cannot be allowed to happen. Gu Zioxian was even more decisive. Li Yun, right? Come on, show me the true meaning of your stance training. Once it's confirmed, you'll be the chief disciple of the Ren class. Li Yun opened his mouth. I wanted to say something, but in the end, I didn't say it. He simply adopted a stance, casually changing from the first stance to the 3rd, and the true meaning he had comprehended was released like a gushing spring. Gu Zioxian made the decision on the spot. This year's chief of the Ren class has been decided. It's this kid. Anyone who has objections or disagrees can speak up now. Still not convinced. Still offering opinions. Who the hell is out of their mind? Even Chu Xingyu, who was filled with jealousy and resentment, had to lower his head. Chapter 58. Who is Gu Yunzhang? You have committed a crime. Come with us to the Hall of Punishment to receive your punishment. The title of Chief of the Ren Division was announced to Li Yun by the Grand Elder of the Elder Hall. Su Jun and Mo Yuan were at a loss for words. They didn't say anything or do anything. Were they just there to watch the show? It's really speechless and incredibly frustrating. If I had known it would end like this, I would have preferred not to come. The two simply apologized to the elders and prepared to leave. Suddenly, Zhao Ziohan stepped forward. Elders, I have no objection to Li Yun being appointed as the chief of the Ren class. I accept it wholeheartedly. However, I wish to challenge Chu Xingyu. Su Jun and Mo Yuan were stunned for a moment and looked at Zhao Ziohan in awe. They couldn't understand why he would challenge Chu Xingyu now that things had come to this. They had all become his study companions and had been reading to Li Yun, which was embarrassing enough. Is it necessary? Shouldn't the challenge be to challenge Li Yun? However, Zhao Ziohan's expression was resolute, and after he finished speaking, his eyes were fixed on Chu Xingyu. Seeing this, Li Yun chuckled and casually sheathed the broadsword and returned it to Zhao Ziohan. After all, how could he not have a weapon when someone was about to challenge him to a fight? Zhao Ziohan, don't you dare push your luck. Chu Xingyu was so angry that his face turned green, and his face trembled violently. He never dreamed that Zhao Ziohan would actually challenge him in front of so many outer sect elders. This is absolutely impossible. He knew his own situation best. After sparring with Zhao Ziohan privately once before, he knew he could never be Zhao Ziohan's match. At this moment, Zhao Ziohan's challenge to him was clearly intended to humiliate him. Alpaca. Zhao Ziohan, the alpaca. If he could, Chu Xingyu would have loved to swear and curse Zhao Ziohan's ancestors for 18 generations. What do you mean by going too far? Didn't I just say that I'm going to challenge you today, regardless of whether you become the chief or not? And as a martial artist, isn't it normal to challenge others or be challenged by others? Why are you so angry? You still have the nerve to say that. You're clearly stronger than me, yet you still challenge me. You're deliberately trying to humiliate me. Do you think I can't see that? I don't accept your challenge. When an elder saw that Chu Xingyu had so bluntly admitted that he was not as strong as Zhao Ziohan, and that he was afraid of being humiliated by Zhao Ziohan and refusing the challenge, he couldn't help but laugh. Even Zhao Ziohan didn't know how to continue the conversation. Zhao Ziohan challenged Chu Xingyu because he wanted to teach Chu Xingyu a lesson in a fair and square way. But this guy shamelessly refused the challenge, and he really had no ideas. However, at this moment, Li Yun also spoke up. If you won't accept Zhao Ziohan's challenge, how about you accept mine? You. Don't worry, I won't bully you. You're at the 3rd level of body tempering, and I won't overpower you in terms of cultivation. As long as you're willing to accept the challenge, I guarantee that I won't exert any more force than the 3rd level of body tempering, and I won't even touch the ancient sword. I'll only throw one punch. How is it? Chu Xingyu was even more furious. Li Yun, don't be so arrogant. Even if you become the chief of the Ren class, you're still just an outer disciple. In time, I'll surpass you. We'll see. As soon as he finished speaking, this guy stormed out of the elders' hall in a fit of rage. He left without even saying goodbye to the elders. It seemed as if they were even a step too slow, Li Yun would really knock them down with his fists. Li Yun, Zhao Ziohan, Su Junmo, Huang Yesi. The elders. Gu Zioxian just smiled and shook his head. This guy is stupid. The matter of the chief of the Ren class has been settled, but Zhao Ziohan and Li Yun have both expressed their desire to challenge Chu Xingyu. Isn't that obviously a personal grudge? Accepting the challenge in front of so many elders might be humiliating, but after the challenge, all grudges would be wiped clean. He just ran away like that, even making threats. Isn't he just waiting for Li Yun and Zhao Ziohan to find a better opportunity to teach him a more painful lesson in the future? Back then, there might not have been so many elders to help him make decisions. However, I see through it but don't say anything. As the grand elder of the outer sect, Gu Zhaoxian knew all too well that there were too many disciples in the Tianwu sect, and it was inevitable that there would be all sorts of conflicts and contradictions among them. As long as they don't go too far or openly challenge the rules, we should turn a blind eye. All right, that's enough for today. Li Yun, stay. Everyone else leave. Yes. Elder, we will take our leave now. Since Gu Zhaoxian had already given the order to leave, neither the elders nor the disciples could stay in the elder hall any longer, and they all dispersed quickly. And as they dispersed, the news that the chief disciple had been chosen was the first to be announced, and it spread like wildfire throughout the outer sect. The name of Li Yun, a disciple of the Ren 95 Academy, suddenly became the subject of much discussion among the outer disciples. Most people felt a strong sense of shock and curiosity about this extremely unfamiliar name. He's only been a beginner for a short time, yet he's already become the top-ranked member of the Ren class. That's just too outrageous. But for some people who already knew Li Yun, this was not good news. Gu Yunzhang, who still holds the title of chief of Ren 95 Academy, started twitching incessantly as soon as he got up early in the morning. Even when he was practicing his stance training in the courtyard, he was absent-minded. I have a feeling that something is going to happen today, and it won't be anything good. It made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Just then, a disciple from Ren 95 suddenly rushed back from outside and shouted loudly as he entered the room. Haha, great news. Li Yun has just been confirmed by the Grand Elder of the Outer Sect as the chief disciple of the Ren class. Ha ha ha, our Ren 95 Academy has really made a name for itself this time. What, really? The chief disciple of the Ren class has been decided so early. Haha, that's great. The best disciple of the Ren class is in our 95th Academy. Does that mean our 95th Academy will be the top of all the Ren class academies from now on? But that's not right. Isn't Gu Yunzheng the chief of our Ren 95th Academy? How come he, the chief of the 95th Academy, didn't become the chief of the Ren class? Whoosh! Instantly, all the disciples in the courtyard turned their gazes toward Gu Yunzheng. Gu Yunzheng froze on the spot, his face turning as red as a monkey's bottom. Why are you all looking at me like that? What does it matter to me that Li Yun became the chief of the Ren class? He has connections and background to become the chief, so why do you all have to laugh at me? Let me tell you, the day is yet to come, and one day I'll make you pay. He hadn't finished speaking. Suddenly, a group of people rushed into the Ren 95 courtyard. Judging from their clothes, everyone knew they were inspectors from the Criminal Investigation Department. The group of people had indifferent expressions. He glanced at the disciples of Ren 95 Academy and spoke directly. Who is Gu Yunzheng? Out of jealousy, you secretly paid someone to attack your fellow disciple Li Yun. You have committed a crime, so step forward and come with us to the punishment hall to receive your punishment. Chapter 59 turns cold and ruthless. Huang Yi gets kicked. Bang! Gu Yunzheng, who was still raging, suddenly collapsed to the ground. Heh, so you're Gu Yunzheng. Lin Taishu glanced at Gu Yunzheng from afar, sneered and waved his hand. Take him down. Immediately, the two inspectors rushed over and forcibly lifted Gu Yunzheng up. No, I won't go to the torture chamber. I know I was wrong. I'll never do it again, please forgive me. Now you realize you were wrong. Too late. Lin Taishu ignored his nonsense and had Gu Yunzheng taken away from the Ren 95 courtyard. They just left. The people in the Ren 95 Academy were in an uproar. No way, Gu Yunzheng actually hired someone to deal with Li Yun. This is simply jealousy driving people mad. What a piece of trash. Ba serves him right. At the same time, outer gate, Zheng 38 courtyard. Huang Yi plopped down on the bed in the room. Nearby, a large group of young women chattered excitedly about the news that the Ren character had been chosen as the chief disciple. Li Yun, Li Yun, Li Yun. This name, which she had heard since childhood but often found repulsive, had now become the name of a genius in the eyes of her fellow female disciples. When they mentioned Li Yun, their eyes lit up and sparkled, as if they couldn't wait to run to Ren 95 to meet Li Yun and then snuggle into his arms. This infuriated Huang Yi so much that her face contorted with rage. How could that be? With a mere 5th grade aptitude, no money, no background, and even his lucky trip to the inner sect was thanks to his fellow disciple Zhang Chu, how could such a piece of trash possibly be a genius? How could he possibly be personally appointed as the chief of the Ren rank sect by the Grand Elder of the Outer Sect? What gives him the right? Are all those Outer Sect elders blind? How could they let someone like that become the chief of the Ren class? Huang Yi was extremely puzzled and extremely unconvinced. Hey, have you guys heard? The reason why the chief disciple of the Ren class was determined so quickly is because several Outer Sect elders submitted applications. Therefore, the Elder Hall planned to let those Ren class disciples compete for the position today. But the result? What was the result? You don't know. There's an ancient sword hanging from the beam in the front hall of the Elders' Hall. It's said to have been hanging there for 100 years. The ancient sword contains amazing sword intent. If someone can comprehend the sword intent, they will have the opportunity to learn the hidden sword techniques within it. However, in the past 100 years, many disciples have gone to the Elder Hall, but none of them have ever succeeded. It was Li Yunshin, a genius with the surname Ren, who actually comprehended it while waiting for the elders to summon him in the front courtyard, and even obtained the ancient sword's master selection under the witness of many elders. It was because of this that Elder Gu Xiaoxian discovered that Li Yun's strength had already reached the 9th level of body tempering, far surpassing that of others. So we announced in public that there was no need for competition, and directly awarded the title of chief of the Ren division to Li Yun. Sisters, Li Yun conquered the Grand Elder with his strength and his extraordinary talent. He's amazing, and I heard he's also very handsome. I think I'm about to fall for him. Pa Li Keifeng, have you no shame? Li Yun is mine. We were betrothed when we were little. He's my fiancé, Jiang Billion's fiancé. If you dare to steal him from me, I won't let you get away with it. Damn it, Jiang Billion. I think you're the shameless one. A childhood betrothal and a fiancé. Who are you trying to fool? Do you think we're stupid? That's right. I made a special inquiry, and Li Yun really does have a fiancé who also joined the Tianwu sect. But it said that his fiancé is blinded by dog shit and actually dislikes Li Yun because he has poor aptitude and no connections or background, so she dumped him. Jiang Billion, are you sure you're really that shameless fiancé? Forehead. Jiang Billion immediately fell silent. His gaze shifted and he suddenly saw Huang Yi, so he quickly tried to divert everyone's attention. Hey, Huang Yi, what are you doing? Why do you look so pale? Oh, I see. You're not sulking because you didn't become the first one to become the top Zheng-ranked leader, are you? There's no need for that. It would normally take at least another month to select the chief disciple. With the guidance of your inner sect senior brothers, if you work a little harder, you'll be the chief disciple sooner or later. Jiang Billion deliberately emphasized the word effort, subtly revealing a hint of sarcasm. Huang Yi slammed her hand on the table in anger. Jiang Billion, shut up. What business is it of yours whether I become the chief of the Zheng group or not? You lowly servant girl, don't think I don't know. You're just jealous that I'm prettier than you, have a better figure, and that I have senior brother Liu from the inner sect who has taken a liking to me, while you haven't. Let me tell you, jealousy is useless. Someone like you wouldn't want even if you were given away for free. With that, she turned her head and walked out of the Zheng 38 courtyard like a proud princess, striding away. That damn Huang Yi. Who are you calling a slut? You little bitch, you're the shameless slut. Don't think I don't know. The night before last you went into the woods with your inner sect senior brother. I'm telling you, I saw it all. Jiang Bilian was so angry that she trembled and started shouting and cursing. The female disciples around him were completely bewildered. Everyone had a strange expression on their face. Huang Yi, who had already walked out of the Zheng 38 courtyard, also heard the cursing behind her, and her face also turned angry. That damned Jiang Bilian, how dare she peek at me and senior brother Liu? I'll make her pay sooner or later. Those who are jealous of me will all die a horrible death. And that damned Li Yun, what makes you so favored by the Grand Elder? What makes you the top member of the Ren group and steal the spotlight? You're nothing but a piece of trash. No, I have to go find senior brother Liu and ask him to help me. I want to become the chief of the Zheng class too. Filled with anger and jealousy, Huang Yi hurriedly headed towards the White Tiger courtyard of the inner sect. It's quite a coincidence. Just as Huang Yi stepped into the inner sect territory, she saw Liu Ningkang. However, Liu Ningkang was now embracing a beautiful woman, who was obviously an outer sect disciple. Huang Yi's eyes instantly reddened. He rushed forward, and without saying a word, slapped the female lead across the face. You lowly wench, who are you to dare seduce my senior brother Liu? The woman froze on the spot, covering her face with a look of grievance. Senior brother Liu, who is she? Liu Ningkang flew into a rage on the spot. He slapped Huang Yi hard across the face, then kicked her far away. You wretched thing, where did you come from, you lowly servant? This is the inner sect. How dare a lowly outer sect disciple like you step into this place? Get out of here right now, or I'll have someone drag you to the torture chamber. Senior brother Liu, you. Huang Yi collapsed to the ground in agony, covered in dust, but no pain could compare to the heartache she felt at that moment. She never dreamed that her senior brother Liu, who had been full of sweet words and promised to help her reverse her innate nature and guarantee her advancement to the inner sect within 3 years, would turn his back on her so ruthlessly. Liu Ningkang simply ignored her. He put his arm around the woman beside him, whispered a few words of comfort, and then turned and left towards the White Tiger courtyard. Before leaving, the woman even turned back and gave her a disdainful look. It's as if it's saying, "Are you as good as me at skating? You're not worthy to fight me." Chapter 60, a perfect match, seeking a win-win situation. Hall of Elders. Li Yun had already been led into the front hall by Gu Xiaoxian. Little guy, you're quite strong. If I'm not mistaken, you've probably grasped more than 3 true meanings in your stance training, right? As the saying goes, old ginger is spicier. Gu Xiaoxian was over 70 years old and a powerful figure. When Li Yun demonstrated his stance training in public, he had already noticed some clues. At this point, there was no point in Li Yun hiding anything anymore. He readily admitted it. Reporting to the elder, there are indeed more than 3 types. So how many kinds exactly? Don't worry, everything you say here today will not be leaked unless you want to. Gu Xiaoxian thought Li Yun was trying to hide his true abilities. This is not surprising. With so many disciples recruited by the Tianmu sect every year, there are always some who are more mature and prefer to keep a low profile rather than be too high profile. This is also one of the effective ways to avoid trouble. Normally, he wouldn't deliberately expose it, but basic stance training is different because it involves the inheritance of the 12 palaces of Tianfu. Li Yun had roughly guessed something, and after thinking for a moment, he said, "Actually, I have already fully mastered the basic stance training and have fully comprehended the 12 true meanings." What, is that really true? Gu Xiaoxian was overjoyed. Although he had some idea about Li Yun's hidden intentions, he never expected it to be this outrageous. It was simply beyond his imagination. Li Yun remained silent. At times like this, there's no point in speaking. He took immediate action, demonstrating all 12 stances in front of Gu Xiaoxian, fully unleashing the 12 true meanings. They simply concealed the fact that stance training could be integrated into Hunyuan stance, and that the 12 kinds of true meanings could be integrated into Hunyuan true meaning. Gu Zioxian was overjoyed. He quickly pulled Li Yun down to sit. "Good lad, you're really something. There's something I'd like you to consider." Then, Gu Zioxian then revealed the existence of the 12 palaces of heaven. Li Yun had already heard about this from Zhang Ryuhan, so he was not surprised. But Gu Zioxian made a request. That is, they hope that Li Yun can go to the ruins of the 12 palaces of heaven before advancing to the refinement realm, and obtain the inheritance of the 12 palaces of heaven as much as possible. Therefore, Gu Zioxian was willing to provide Li Yun with all the necessary conveniences. However, after Li Yun obtained the inheritance of the 12 palaces of Heavenly Palace, he needed to make a copy to preserve as part of the Heavenly Martial Sect's armory, in order to increase the Heavenly Martial Sect's armory resources. After weighing the pros and cons briefly, Li Yun readily agreed. In fact, there's not much to consider. According to Gu Zioxian, advancing to the refining strength realm is a crucial stage for martial artists, because once they reach this stage, they will inevitably cultivate internal energy. Internal strength is the foundation for transforming into true qi, and true qi is the core of revering the innate from the acquired. Martial arts training is actually a process of continuous evolution and sublimation along a single line. Therefore, internal strength is extremely important. Internal energy also has different qualities. Based on different physiques and the internal energy cultivated using different levels of techniques, it can be roughly divided into 9 qualities, with the 9th grade being the lowest and the 1st grade being the highest. However, the best internal energy cultivation technique currently stored in the Tianwu Sect's armory is called 6 Methods Return to Origin, which can only cultivate internal energy to the 4th rank at most. This is considered to be at the peak of the middle grade 3, among the 9 qualities of internal energy. Compared to some ordinary small sects, it has actually surpassed many others. In fact, most martial arts sects in Dongyun continent only have techniques that can cultivate internal energy to the lower 3 grades. But the peak of the middle 3rd grade is still only the middle 3rd grade, so how can it compare to the strength of the upper 3rd grade? Why is it so difficult to reverse one's innate constitution through acquired means? Why is the probability so low? A large part of the reason is that the initial internal energy quality was not high enough, resulting in insufficient quality and quantity of true qi in the later conversion. If one could cultivate internal energy to the highest level, top 3 grades, the situation would be completely different. To put it bluntly, even if one only cultivates to the 3rd rank of internal energy, the subsequent conversion of true qi is far superior to that of the middle 3rd rank. The success rate of revering the innate from the acquired is as high as 70%. Not to mention 2nd grade internal energy or 1st grade internal energy. This level of internal energy quality will inevitably create a greater opportunity for the acquired to reverse the innate. The true core inheritance of the 12 palaces of Heavenly Mansion, the Heavenly Mansion Divine Skill, includes the method for cultivating the upper 3 grades of internal strength. More importantly, this method is actually based on the 12 true meanings of the basic 12 stances. Even the strongest internal energy cultivation technique of the Tianwu sect, 6 Methods Return to Origin, is actually derived from Tianfu Divine Skill, and the two are of the same lineage. Therefore, if Li Yunjin were to obtain the Heavenly Palace Divine Skill from the ruins of the 12 palaces of Heavenly Palace, it would not only greatly benefit him, but also the Heavenly Martial Sect. It's a win-win situation. Thinking it over from beginning to end, there really is no reason not to go. After receiving Li Yun's affirmative reply, Gu Zioxian was very happy. Her gaze towards Li Yun was noticeably different, becoming more amiable and appreciative. That recognition goes far beyond the recognition of a chief official with the character, Chinese letter, in the general sense. The journey to the Tianfu 12 Palace's ruins is not short, at least 800 kilometers. Gu Xiaoxian needed to ensure Li Yun's safety and also needed to make some preparations beforehand, so he asked Li Yun to go back first. At the latest, in 5 days, after all preparations were complete, Gu Xiaoxian would personally take Li Yun there. After leaving the Elders' Hall, Li Yun went directly to Cang Yun residence. As soon as they met, Zhang Kong asked cheerfully, "So, when are we going to the Tianfu 12 Palace's ruins?" "Uncle Zhang, you guessed it." "Do you need to guess? When you demonstrated your stance training in the Elder Hall, apart from those few disciples who were still in the dark, how many people couldn't see that the true meaning of your stance training was more than 3 kinds? Among the outer disciples, it is rare to find someone with such achievements in stance training. It is common knowledge that Elder Gu has been longing to obtain the heavenly mansion divine skill to supplement the lack of resources in the martial arts arsenal all these years. He deliberately kept you here. It would be strange if it wasn't for this. And you're not stupid, kid. This is a rare and excellent opportunity for you to enter the ruins of the 12 heavenly palaces. How could you possibly miss it? In my opinion, you and Elder Gu are definitely a perfect match," Zhang Kong said with a smile, appearing confident and as if everything was already within his expectations. "To be honest, you're really lucky. If you can really bring back the core inheritance of the 12 palaces of Heavenly Mansion, then you will have made a great contribution to the Heavenly Martial Sect. Right now, you are only an outer disciple, so this kind of contribution may seem useless. But when you become a true disciple in the future, this contribution will be enough to become a favorable advantage in the competition for sect membership. You should seize this opportunity. I believe your future is not limited to the Heavenly Martial Sect or even the Eastern Cloud Continent. But before you go out into the world, the Heavenly Martial Sect will definitely be able to provide you with a significant boost.